Welcome to another episode of the Great Man Podcast. I'm your host, Harley Fox. Today on the show, I'm joined by Michael Dawson. Michael has had quite the journey through the Australian Army. First as an electronic warfare operator, and then into SIGs, and then into MPs as a doggy, and then back into SIGs, and then involuntarily medically separated. So we talk about his journey through the Defence Force, and then his journey through that transition, and how he's worked through it to get to where he is today. Quite the story, quite the storyteller. This one's quite a long one, so strap in or watch it in parts. But thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate you. Enjoy the show. This podcast is brought to you by BAC, Baldwin Advocacy and Claims. The Great Man Podcast is proud to partner with Kai and his team. More about that during the show. Michael, welcome, mate.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here.
Hey, it's a pleasure. It's great.
No worries. As I was saying, just got back from a month in Thailand, so readjusting to the weather and fighting off a little bit of, I wouldn't even call it jet lag. I think it's just the time, the slight time difference that gets you a little bit.
It does, and also the way of life, the different. So in Thailand, I guess being in Southeast Asia, they run in a different time.
Yeah, it's a nighttime place.
Yeah, and plus also they have a different, less sense of urgency as we do here in Australia, where it's like, we got to get this, we got to get there.
Yeah.
But over there, they're just like, I'll see you at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8.
Yeah. It's not 5 minutes late; it's several hours late.
That's right.
Yeah, I remember a couple of times I was meeting people, and I was like, all right, they told me this time, so I expect them probably 2 hours after that.
Yeah. We got that when I was in Timor. We got that. I was working at the detention centre in Delhi, and we were training up the PNTL for to come work in the detention centre. We said to them, "Okay, tomorrow morning, 7:30, be here." And they're just like, "Okay, boss. Okay, boss." And the next one, that'd be like 10 of them. The next morning, 5 would turn up. 2 are wearing the uniform. One's wearing a different shirt. Another one's got no pants. And we're just like, where is everyone? Oh, we're here, boss. Well, where's the rest of them? Oh, they'll be here. And I'm like, why aren't you wearing pants? Where's your shirt? Oh, no, my brother's got it. No, why? He's not a thing. Oh, yeah, but he likes it. I get it. I understand.
They love a bit of merch and stuff. I had plenty of shirts and hats stolen while I was there. Well, not stolen, but I want this.
It is. That's the culture. No, that's all right.
Yeah. Anywho, what's going on with you? Coming down from over from Nanango?
Yeah, coming down from the South Burnett. Yeah, we live out there now. So I did 23 years in the Army. Just recently medically retired. Say 2023 was when I medically retired.
It's very easy now.
Yeah, and
time flies.
It does. It has. But look, I loved every minute of the defence when I was in the Army, and I still do. I miss it. I still do miss it. I really do, because I was medically discharged. Before I was in the Army, like I joined up when I was a little bit. I was 25, 26 when I joined.
Yeah, a bit of life experience before you went in.
Yeah, so I when I left school, I got into audio engineering. And started working at concerts at Festival Hall and in the city and other venues around Fortitude Valley. And then I got into, I tried everything once. And that's my mantra, is try everything once. It's just give it a go. Doesn't matter, how outlandish it may be. Just try it. And that's what I've been doing my entire life. So, yeah, audio engineer. And then I got into construction work, bricklaying, concreting. Then I went to TAFE again and did stonemasonry. Then started working out at, or volunteering it was for my training. I was quite literally hammering people's names into gravestones as a practicing letters and numbers. But then I got, into the drywalling sort of thing, so, and crazy paving sort of stuff. So that was where I went to. And then
just on that gravestone stuff, does it make you like reflect on life when you're sort of doing that for people that have passed?
I think I was about 18, 19. I think from the time I left school to the time I joined the army, for me, Jesus, take the wheel. What can we do? It was like I had very little concern about anything at all. It didn't really, made me reflect or anything like that. I was just, I think I was really hyper focused on, make sure this lettering is correct. The way I saw it was, this is going to be someone's memory. I better make it right. If I make a mistake, I'm going to be forever, worried that, I put a capital P instead of a small b or something like that. So sort of. And then got into security work. I was doing security at nightclubs in the valley, in the Fortitude Valley, in the Brisbane city. Worked for various different security companies because that tied in well because at that particular time from the time I left school, I was, because I used to do martial arts a lot and also boxing. I love boxing. Did martial arts most of my life. Like when I was a young fellow, did taekwondo, then got into Shotokan karate, and then Thai boxing, Muay Thai, and then I got into judo, and then I ended up doing boxing mainly in the Fortitude Valley, and so that tied in well because that's where I met a few of my mates who then got into security, and that's how it kind of went for me. Went to the Chinese boxing school in the Fortitude Valley in the 90s, and then from that, I got introduced into the stunt industry. And then one of the guys was a stunt performer down at Warner Brothers. And so he took me down there and introduced me to the stunt industry. At the time, also I did go-karting and various races out at Mount Cotton, hill climbs. And so from those two things combined, I got into stunt work. So then I'd do security at night, and then during the day, I'd go down to the Australian Stunt Academy and do stunt work, stunt training.
You're pretty fit back then.
I was, yeah. It was a way of life for me. It was just how it was, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Did a couple of movies. I managed to get myself onto the set of Jackie Chan's First Strike in Chinatown Mall, because like the Chinese boxing school was around the corner, and then Malcolm Su Kung Fu was in there, and I did that as well. And so I went and saw them, and at the same time, it was a big. I don't know if you ever seen Jackie Chan's First Strike, but the Chinatown Mall fight scene at the end was ginormous. Like it was a massive Chinese, orchestration of martial arts, paper dragons and everything. It was massive.
Down in the valley there. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that
I'll have to watch that again. And
it was pretty big. I'm in it for 2.3 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
So the way it happened was one of the stunties, he was a stunt performer, stunt actor in the movie, and he managed to get me like a very small role. And all I did was my role was that when a goon was running towards me, the goon was going to push me out of the way and threw me into the plate glass window. And we practiced it 2 or 3 times. And then Jackie Chan has his the Hong Kong Stunt Academy. They do all the major stunts, and they also orchestrate who does what and who says what. And they were like, no, forget the glass, just push me out of the way. So I went from a 3-second to a 2.5, but I was in it, and I got to meet Jackie Chan and the Hong Kong Stunt Academy. And then, after that, a few things changed. My father passed away in '96. That changed my look on life, and I met my wife Kelly. At that time, she had 3 kids of her own, and then it was, and then we got married, and it was like, all right, I better do a proper job here. Like I had, security and stunt work. Stunt work was seasonal. Security was nighttime work, and I was coming home sleeping all day, and it was just wasn't working. So Kelly's father was in the army, and he said, well, why didn't you join the army? Timor's happening right now, and you'll get in quickly. So I did. I put my application in for infantry and combat engineer, and they saw my resume and they said, "Oh, you could be a SIG."
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, "Oh, what do I do as a SIG?" "Oh, what you did for Telstra, you could do that in the army." And I was just like, I really want to do combat engineering. I want to get my, Bobcat backhoe tickets. I want to do, construction. And they were like, no, you can do electronic warfare. And I was like, well, what's that? Well, I can't tell you because it's secretive, but you get paid more if you do that job as opposed to a combat engineer. And I was just like, oh, all right, okay, I will.
Mm-hmm.
So I went in as an electronic warfare operator, got posted up to Kabbalah, and we lived on the married patch. And that was, during that course, we had to learn Morse code. And that's it's quite literally another language. I remember we got up to the Kabbalah and they said, okay, before your course starts, we're going to get you to start touch typing. You've got to be able to touch type at 40 words a minute, and we're going to learn more. And you've got to start your Morse code. We want you to be up 5 words a minute before the course starts. And I was just like, what the fuck is Morse code? Like, what is this shit? Like, I thought that went out in World War II, but apparently not. It's quite relevant in, modern warfare. So, there I was learning Morse code. They gave me all these tapes. I had a Walkman, and I would walk home because I lived on base. So I'd just walk home listening to Morse code in my headphones, and then and then on weekends I would be driving around. We'd go for drives or whatever, and in the tape deck would go the Morse code tape, and we'd be listening to Morse code, driving around Toowoomba, and the kids are just like going crazy. I'm like, it's work. I need to do this. So it was pretty hard.
But moving to the country and stuff. Did you grow up in the country as well? Have you always been a country boy?
Mainly Brisbane. Did a bit of time in Toowoomba with family. They owned a piggery at Murphy's Creek, not far from Toowoomba. So I was familiar with the area, and some of my family live up in that region. For Kelly, it's all her family are down in New South Wales, Newcastle. That's where she's from, but they're mainly Brisbane. But no, I had no problems at all with Kabbalah back then in 2000. Kabbalah and Highfields was nothing. It was like a really small country town. Most weekends we'd get protesters turning up, protesting out the front for no nuclear weapons and all this sort of crap. Even though out the front was a golf course, and people were adamant that the ninth hole that was raised, a little bit raised, was an underground bunker. And so we would get on a weekend, they'd be there with their no nuclear signs, and we're like, what the fuck? Like what is going through their head? We got because we had a big antenna farm out the back, the public in Toowoomba would blame us for the change of weather. So they would say that our antennas were affecting the weather and all this sort of crap. And it was just like they receive antennas, like they're just the same as your TV antenna at home, but different and bigger. That's all they are, when they were like, oh, look, all this fog is because of those antennas. And it's just like, no, it's not. It was
bunch of loonies out there.
Oh, there are some special ones out there. But, we had, I enjoyed it. And growing up, starting out there, with our kids, they go to the local schools. But some of the things that I learned when I was there, things they don't tell you when you go through recruiting. So flag duty, for example. Now, of course, flag duty happens on every single base with every single unit. Each one is different. At 7 SIG at the time, you had to go down to the front gate, which is about half a K from the base, and then pick up the flag, pick up the keys to the main office, headquarters element, go back up to the headquarters, unlock it, mop the floor, clean the kitchen area, vacuum the RSMs in the CO's office, and then you had to then grab the flags and then put the flags up, ready for the breaking of the flags at 7 o'clock. Whenever, and this was an unwritten rule, but every new guy that did flag duty was, I guess, introduced to the regiment in a special way. So when I first did my flag duty, I came out, I'd already mopped the floors and I'd done the vacuuming, and I was like, good, happy with that, and everything set in place. Grabbed the flags, went out and put them up, and there was a fair few people waiting because the parade ground's just across the road. And everyone's just waiting, and they're all like, waving to me, and I was just like, oh, hey, how you going? Good luck with that flag duty, Sig Dawson. Oh, okay. Thank you. Gosh, you guys are nice. Went back inside, waiting for, 2 minutes to 7. Marched out there with the whistle, fucking beep, blew the whistle, tink, and all this confetti just started falling on my head. And I was just like, what the fuck? And everyone's like, yay. So that was one of the more funnier ones. But the worst ones, when I was at in Sydney at the Defence Police Training Centre, we had the detention centre on one side, and then the military police unit and headquarters element in the middle, and then the Defence Police Training Centre up on this side. And the flag was in the middle with the parade ground. Now, the flags down there were done a little bit different. It was, you put the flags up at 5 to 7, unbroken, and then you put on a CD, and it played the national anthem, right? We were always told, make sure you check the CD, go out and press play, and then go do the flags. Well, I didn't check the CD. And I put the CD in and closed it up, pressed play, marched out there, and I had the chief coxswain from the Defence Police Training Centre, the detention centre on that side, standing outside, and I had someone from the headquarters, one of the sergeants, is standing there as well at the headquarters element, and I'm about to do the thing, waiting for the national anthem to start, and it was Twisted Sister, We're Not Going to Take It, blasting out over the PA system, and I was just like, whoa. I quickly marched back inside, and the chief coxswain's like, what the fuck is that? What the? And he's yelling at me, and the sergeant's over there is going, sort it out, Corporal Dawson, sort it out. I'm like, oh my fuck. I had to run back inside, change the CD, find the right one, put it in, run back out there, and then stand there and salute. And I got fucking roasted for that one. Check the fucking CD. I was like, oh, fuck. So, yeah, that was a bit embarrassing. But at Seven Sig, no, it was different. It was, my wife didn't know what I did there. I couldn't tell her. She wasn't to know. But, we were all in the married patch. We all, had our own, little things. I lived next door to of course, Stacey Gray, mate of mine, an ex-Kiwi soldier, come to the Australian Army. And then next door to him was the RSM of the regiment. At the time, it was Warrant Officer War Boys. And then around the corner was another sergeant from the regiment. And then we had the British exchange, and then the American exchange, and then we had I think at the time, the Padre, or we had a naval linguist who lived on the corner, and I think he had 6 or 7 kids or something like that. And he was really nice. He was a good bloke. And he was a linguist instructor. So he was great. But with War Boys and living in the married patch, I had to learn it was really hard to separate work from home, because I was on base the whole time pretty much. So home became work. And on weekends we'd be, talking to my neighbour, and we just talk shop, in the married patch. Your
wife was a proper mill spouse then?
Oh no, she didn't really like it.
On. She's going here.
Yeah, she didn't really like she didn't really get there were some army wives there that were wearing the rank, wear their husband's PT shirt on the weekends, sort of things. It was just, she just didn't get it. She didn't understand why, so-and-so's partner is wearing the PT shirt, We had on base, they had like a little family hub. So on a Tuesday or something like that, they would have cups of tea and coffee with DCO and things like that. And that's where a lot of discussions were had. And then my wife would come home and she'd be like, oh, So I've already planned for so-and-so to come up because on the weekend you're not going to be here. You're going to be away on this thing. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm going to be away? And she's like, oh, Julie was saying, the RSMs were saying that they're all getting ready to go on this thing and you and everyone else, they're all going. So on the weekend, you won't be here for, I was just like, really?
She knew more than you.
Yeah. And then I go up to work and I'll be like, am I going away this weekend? They're just like, how the fuck do you know that? My wife told me. How does she know that? Well, the RSM's wife told her. Yeah. And that's how it was.
Yeah, small town sort of stuff.
It was. It really was. My wife didn't really get the rank system. She just didn't play that game. And I remember one, I'd be working in the communications centre on base and it was 24/7. And, sometimes I'd be working weekends. And I remember one Sunday morning, my wife rang me up in the communications centre and she's like, oh, when you've finished, I need you to bring this down. And by the way, I had a conversation with your boss. And I was like, which one? She's like, the one that has the crown and the coat of arms. And I was like, oh, the RSM. She's like, yeah, the fucking idiot. And I'm like, oh, what did you say? What did you say? And he goes, oh, you can't fucking tell me what to do. He's your boss, not mine. I was like, what did you say? So apparently, my wife was at the front just hosing the garden or whatever. And he walked past and he's like, good morning, Mrs. Dawson. How are you? And she's like, oh, good, thanks, Harvey. How you going? Sort of thing. And he's like, Mrs. Dawson, can you please tell your husband that DHA policy states that no grass clippings are put in the garden. Can you get him to remove them from the garden, please? And she's gone, oh, fuck off, Harvey. Tell him your fucking self. When she told me that, I was just like, oh, no, fuck. I'd ring up my sergeant. Sarge, my wife just had a conversation with the RSM and he's like, yes, so this is what she said. And he's like, oh, okay, look, don't worry, we'll smooth this out. I was like, oh, fuck. I come home like later on that night at the end of shift. There's Harvey waiting for me at the fucking gate between the base and the married patch. Morning, sir. Evening, sir. How you going? Sig Dawson, I had a conversation with your wife this morning. Can you please inform her that when talking to, senior members of the regiment that a bit more class is required. Okay, sir, sure, I'll try my best. I said, but she is human and, I'll see what I can do.
You've been married for, 30 odd years then?
26 years. Yeah.
What did you discharge from the army as?
Corporal.
Because you changed jobs a bunch of times.
I did. So in a nutshell, I was signals corps, I was electronic warfare, then I was radio operator, still within an electronic warfare regiment. And then I changed corps to military police, general duties, military police. I then did.
Did you have to go back to private for that?
Absolutely, yeah. Private only during the course, and then once you finish course, you become a lance corporal. And then you had to do their subject course to get back up to corporal. I was general duties, and then I was a minor criminal investigator for a little bit, worked at the detention centre for a bit, and then became a dog handler. And I was a dog handler for the longest and the best time ever in my entire, that was so much fun. I actually had a lot more fun in the military police. It opened up my eyes because I was like in a box at 7-6. There was no other unit there. It was just us. And we were so far away from the rest of the army, but we had our fingers in every little piece of hole we could possible with the defence internationally as well. They'd send us, sometimes we'd go into Pine Gap or we'd go to Bamaga or Exmouth or Northern Territory. So we would do that, but no, military police. It was just like, oh, wow, this is the army. Like, holy shit.
People.
Yeah, that's right. And then after military police, I was a recruit instructor. And then I left military police out of I guess I was pissed off with certain people, left, became a SIG again, telecommunications systems technician. And I kind of stayed that role for the remainder of the army, my career, but I went back and forward to different, like in intelligence, I tried all aspects of intelligence, wasn't successful in any of them, but I gave them a red hot shot. And then I finished off as a telecommunications systems technician that was getting quite technical before I got out. And it was good. We were starting up the space program with a space agency at one div, and then of course, medically discharged. But when I joined the military police, when I joined, there was no ab initios. It was you had to have done at least 12 months of a previous trade, and then you could join. And then you had to be interviewed, and then once you were accepted, you're then allowed to join the military police, and that's what I did. And because I was up at 7 SIG at the time, the closest military police was at Oki, which were the dogs, and that's where I, I was just like, I want to do this. Like, this is so much fun. It was so much fun. We had, I guess, because I was at 7 SIG, I was stuck in a communication centre or in anywhere like in Canberra or in Darwin or in Alice Springs or Bamaga. I was in a box with no windows for 12 hours at a time, or I'd be in the back of a rover, with comms, or following a CO with communications and shit like that. I never got to really talk to or, experience. The only time I really experienced talking to someone else from outside was, I remember one of the stories I got here in this book is we were, the cavalry were doing their annual, exercise that they do for their whole corps, or armoured corps, sorry. And we had to organise with one armoured what we were going to do to like 214 and 3-4 Cav and so on and so forth with our electronic warfare. And I was a radio operator, and I was the CEO's radio operator. But his captain and major, captain she was very, what's the word? She was career focused. She knew what she wanted to do. She knew how she was going to get to that position, and she knew how, she was that sort of person. I admire that sort of stuff. I really do. But at the detriment of other people, it is where it went down. So I'll give you an example. We were on one of their night shifts, and there'd have to be an officer on watch. And I remember one of the lieutenants coming up to her and saying, "Oh, ma'am, I'm going to be on shift just after you. My position is just over here next to that tree. We're located near that." And she's like, "No, you will set an alarm. You will wake up and you'll be here 5 minutes before so I can brief you." And he's like, look, well, ma'am, I haven't got an alarm because we weren't allowed mobile phones. We weren't allowed any alarms. It was just like, what the hell? She's like, "You will set an alarm and you will be here 5 minutes before." And I could see this, he was like, "Oh, what the fuck?" He was sweating. He's come over to me and he's like, "Listen, Sig Dawson, can you do me a big favour?" And I was like, "Sir, I'll wake you up. It's all right. What time's you pick it?" And he told me, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll go wake you up." So yeah, I was, I helped him out. While she was on shift with me, she would just demand these outlandish things. She would come over and she'd be like, "Sig Dawson, I want you to get on the phone to one armoured CO, tell him to call me back in approximately 15 minutes and explain to him that we're going to be talking about this, this and this." And I was like, "Sure, okay, ma'am, no worries." And I get on the DMCN and I, "G'day, sir, Sig Dawson from 7 SIG. And he goes, what's the problem?" "Sir, my captain wishes to speak to you in 15 minutes about the following things." And he's like, "You tell her to get off her fucking ass and call her myself." "Yes, sir, okay." "Ma'am, he wants you to call him." "You call him back and you tell him." And I was just like, oh my fuck. So she was always like that. She was very determined, but it was at a cost. And so that's a sort of environment I had within SIGs all the time. But when I got to the military police, wow, it was so different. It was polar opposite.
Yeah. Going from the geek squad to the front of house sort of stuff.
Oh, look, I when I got posted to Brisbane after I finished my course. Like I was working at the DFCE for a month. We had to do a month at DFCE to be detention centre supervisor qualified. Did that. Got posted up to Brisbane. My wife and kids all moved down. And yeah, that was where, I remember my CSM at the time, Warren Stafford, he was X6 RER. He was a hard nut. It was the first time I'd been involved with a combat arms, senior NCO. And the RSM X6 RER and X Golden Glove boxers in the 90s with 6 RER. He was tall. He was a tall motherfucker. He was about 6'4". But I mean, if he punched you, you weren't waking up for another week. He was massive in height wise, but Warren Stafford was just small and chunky, and just like chunky. So Brisbane was all the bodyguard CPP. Close personal protection, right?
Yeah.
And the GDs. So I was a GD, and we had the CPP. Oki was the dog handlers. So all the doggies are up there. So they were the two specialists that we had within Southeast Queensland. Working with all the CPP guys was so much fun. Like, we would be their VIP guy or something like that. We need a VIP to practice our driving, and you'd be in the vehicle in the back and they'd be doing all these driving techniques and everything. It was so much fun. We'd drive to Waco when Waco was still open and, do VIP stuff there.
Was it hard for you to get out of EW and into MPs? Were they trying to not let you go?
Yes, it was originally difficult. They wanted me down in Canberra. As I said, we did stints for a month or so at Pine Gap or ASD, or back then it was DSD, up at Bamiga, and also up in Darwin. They were determined, for the next 3 years, you're going to be in Canberra working at Russell office, then Deakin office, and then out of Fishwick, and then HMAS Harmon. And I was just like, I don't want to do Canberra. I really, it meant wearing GD polys all the time. And I don't want to do Canberra. Because I was still relatively young in the army. And I was like, I want to go to Darwin. I want to be the pointy end of the stick. I want to go to Townsville. I want to go and exercise. I want to go outfield. And they were like, no, your skills are going to be better left here. They did try to hold on to me tight. When I was at 7 SIG, I actually tried to go Special Forces. I put my application in, did all the training, pre-training, and wasn't successful at the application process. But what they did, they convinced me to go Tag East. Tag East started in 2003. And they convinced me to try out for 126 or 152, one of the two SIG Special Forces SIGs units.
Oh, yeah.
And the requirement to be combat Special Forces SIG, you had to do paracourse. Now, I had already done the advanced HF courses and all the Special Forces radio operator courses. I was qualified in that. Most of us were, but to get to the next step or to go further in, you'd have to do the para course and a few other things as well. And so, they sent me down to Nowra and did my para course. Halfway through the para course, I think it was on my 4th or 5th jump, or jumping out of a Herc. I was on the right-hand side. I was the second stick, and I was the 4th person in the second stick on the right-hand side of the Herc. It was our 4th jump, so it was with equipment. And we had to jettison our packs and all that sort of stuff. And I just remember before the jump, before we took off, the load masters just yelling at us, make sure you hand the fucking riser to me. I don't want it flailing about. So I was really like, I've got to hand him that fucking riser. I don't want to fuck up. I don't want to fuck this up. Yes, there I was, here, getting ready to go. Got up, okay, going through my process. Step 1, left, 2, left, 3, and handed the riser, and I just held on just for that 1 second too long. And as I went out, my arm got caught, and it snapped. I've got out, my whole arm twisted, broke it all the way up here. This finger went that way. The thumb broke. These two fingers and thumb broke.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a TB10, so it's a big thing. So, you don't have to, you can steer it, but you don't have to really steer it that much. You just have to, pull the risers down so that you can, steer yourself in. I couldn't even do that. My arm was just dangling and I didn't jettison my pack at all. And I'm just like, fuck. In pain, like in so much pain. I landed heavy and because I still had the pack on around my feet because I never jettisoned it because I was just so focused on my fucking arm. It was just so much pain. And then I got to the bottom and, it hit hard and, I ended up, my hand got permanently disfigured. My hand is now, like that forever.
You can't put your fingers together.
Yeah, they couldn't, they couldn't, so that's the goose, I think they call it a swan neck, disfigurement. I ended up, broken. So that was it. I couldn't do that anymore. So I gave it away. And that's when I started.
Your commando dreams.
It was done. That was it. And that was very early in my career, and I was just like, no more, no, do something else. And that's with military police.
If you've ever had to lodge a DVA claim, you know how it can feel like a full-time job. Between the endless paperwork, the complex fine print, and trying to navigate the bureaucracy, the system can completely wear you down. That is exactly why we've partnered with Kai Baldwin and the team at BAC, Baldwin Advocacy and Claims. Kai and his team are professional advocates. Their entire job is to step into your shoes, take over the communication with DVA, and ensure you actually get the support and outcomes you're entitled to. You don't have to stress over the jargon or spend months fighting the system on your own. BAC handles the heavy lifting from start to finish. What I respect most about Kai is his straightforward approach. BAC operates on a completely fixed fee. There's no hidden percentages, no guessing games, and they have strict ethical standards built into how they operate. I want you to know I don't take this recommendation lightly. I truly believe Kai has your back. You don't have to navigate the DVA system alone. Let the professionals handle it. Head over to baldwinclaims.com.au and see how Kai and the BAC team can help. Back to the show.
But yeah, when I got to Brisbane with the military police, meeting this, CSM and RSM who are ex-infantry and it was treated like an infantry battalion, which I hadn't experienced before. SIGs was really, I wouldn't say cruisy. They just didn't really focus heavy on the discipline as much.
More of a corporate environment.
It was, and because we're down in Canberra, when you're down in Canberra, you're with contractors, with the APS. And your boss would be this APS person, APS EL level 1 or something like that, executive level 1, which is like I think is a major equivalent. So you'll call them sir, but you don't have to, sort of thing. It was a different environment. And then, changing over to military police, it was like back into army, like real army. I remember we had an incident, and most of my funny shit happened when I was in the military police. So the first thing I remember, my RSM, Leo O'Reilly, he became a padre after a while, but he was one of the lead CPP operators in Iraq. He'd been doing Iraq for a while, and he was a really, really nice man. It was the first time I had someone who was nice, but also like really fucking disciplined. It was
good at their job.
Yeah, he was very good at it. So he would say to me, he'd bring me into his office and he'd be like, "Oh, right, cool, Dawson, how many kids have you got?" And I'd be like, at that time I had 5. With one more on the way. And he's like,
oh, Jesus.
Yeah. And he's like, "You're a Roman Catholic then, are you?" I said, "Oh, yeah, no worries. That's fine, mate. What are their birthdays?" And I told him what their birthdays. "What's your wife's birthday?" I told him that. "And when did you get married? What's that date?" And I told him that. And he goes, "Okay, these are the days you can have off throughout the year. They're free. It's for free. Like, they're your free days." He goes, "You're going to get a few more than the others, but they're not Roman Catholic. That's their problem. You are. You'll have, all this." So he gave me every single one of my kids' birthdays a day off.
Nice.
My wife's birthday and also our wedding anniversary. I'd have a day off. And I thought, I thought that was really considerate. But I mean, he expected a lot out of us. and he was very hard on the discipline. An example of his type of discipline, we would be, all us corporals would be in the sheds doing some work or whatever, getting something prepared, and we'd get into a disagreement, right? And he could hear this disagreement, and he'd be like, "Get up here, the pair of yous, get up here right now." So we get hauled up to his office, and he'd sit us down and be like, "What's your problem? What's the issue?" "Oh, sir, I was going to do this, but this happened, and then he was going to do this and that, and then he'd start yelling, and I'd start yelling. And he'd be like, no, I'm not happy with this result. Lunchtime, get your boxing mitts, get your mouth guards, meet me down at 6 RAR boxing ring. We'll sort it out that way." I'll be like, no, sir, look, we can sort the, no, lunchtime, 6 RAR. I'm like, oh, fuck. So he'd make us go down to 6 RAR, right? And he used to have a boxing ring in there. I think it was in Bravo. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, yeah, we'd have to meet up there at lunchtime, and because he knew all the RSMs and everything, within the brigade, he'd word them up. "Yep, 2 boys are coming down at lunchtime. I'm reffing." And he goes, "I just need another adjudicator." They're these CSM from bloody, Bravo company would be there as adjudicator while we're punching on for 3 rounds. And go, "Right, boys, sort it out." And then all the other guys from 6 RAR would be like, "Yeah, punch on." Like these 2 MPs punching on in this fucking boxing ring. And they're all, get him, punch, And I'm just there going, holy fucking shit, just tap. And he'd be like, "If you're not going to fight properly, you're going to fight me in the 3rd round." And we'd be like, "Oh, shit." And we'd, "Sorry, mate." So that happened a lot. That was often, like when he was there. It was, or one of the other CSMs, one of his staff would make us do grappling in the Krav Maga or something like that in the thing, and we would sort it out that way. He'd be like, "Righto, let's get on the floor, right, get in the position, all right, here we go." And yeah, we'd have to get out of this fucking hold or whatever. Fuck. But, I enjoyed that. Like I never got that when I was in the SIGs. It was, the worst I'd have to do was make someone a cup of coffee or whatever, or be on an extra duty, but not punching on with someone. Like it was so different. It was it really opened my eyes. And
what was that, like early 2000s?
Yeah, 2004. That was how we were reprimanded. If we did something wrong, we'd be either down at the gym and we would be wrestling, like with either a PDI or the whatever, or our RSM would take us to the fucking boxing ring and just punch on with us. But it was all training because we had mouth guards, headgear, boxing gloves.
Yeah.
And it was all, which it did. It toughened us up. It made us a bit more. It gave us a bit more bravado. I loved it. It was even though I got a broken nose here or there and whatever, but it was enjoyable. I really enjoyed it. I remember one evening we were doing security for one div. So we provided vital asset protection for one div. And at Enoggera, there used to be a hall called Arneson Hall. And that's where they used to do all their like on-base exercises for one div. So our role was to make sure that, all the doors were locked and so on and so forth, and that everything was secure, and we had roaming patrols. And then we had metal detectors, metal detector doors, and then we had no mobile phones or anything like that. So we were scanning for them and putting them in boxes. And I remember the RSM of 7 Brigade was at the time, I think his name was Warren Officer McLeod. He came up to us, I was this corporal or freshly minted corporal in the military police, scanning all these majors and lieutenant colonels and things like that. And, "Sir, place your mobile phone in the box, please." "Oh, is this necessary?" "Yes, sir, it is. Yes, please." And this RSM comes up and he's like, "What? All 7 Brigade are going to put their mobile phones in this box, not in your box." "Okay, sir, no worries. Do you want to just put that by my RSM? You fucking put it past him. I'll fucking tell him. I say, you fucking put him in this box. You can tell him yourself." And I'm like, "Okay." So go back to my RSM. "Sir, 7 Brigade RSM wants their own box for their phones." And he's like, "Who the fuck? fucking you tell him that you know, they all got to go on the same box. It's just like, oh shit, you know. CSM, the RSM comes back from 7 Brigade. You know, where's the 7 Brigade box? Sir, our RSM states that I fucking told you to put them in this fucking box. And then I'd have to get on the phone to the fucking my RSM. Sir, he's adamant that he wants his own fucking box. Tell him I'll be there in 5 minutes. Okay, no worries. Next, you know, my fucking RSM walks in and he's gone, where the fuck is that fucking idiot? No, I'm like, 7 Brigade RSM, I'll go find him, sir. And I've gone around the whole Arneson Hall area and through all the, you know, different areas that are all cordoned off. And I went, oh, sir, you know, RSM, sir, my RSM's here to speak to you. And he's like, is that fucking right? Righto. And he's fucking storming off. And I was just like, holy shit. So I'm following 7 Brigade RSM up the hall on one side. And my RSM is standing in the centre where our area was. And they started yelling at each other from a distance. They're like, oh, I fucking got my own box. You fucking... And they had knife handing from a distance. As they got closer, it just turned into a punch-up, and they just started punching on. And I was just like, I'm standing there, this corporal, this brandly minted corporal with this other Lance Jack standing next to me, and these two RSMs are like arguing and punching, and I was just like, holy fuck. I've had this major come over and he's just like, RSMs, SMs, stop. And he's looking at the major's looking at me and he's like, can you split this up? And I was just like, what the fuck am I going to do? Like, what the fuck am I going to do? I'm just a fucking digger. So I've tried to split up as best as I can without getting punched these two RSMs. With a bit of help from other people, we've got them split up. And my RSM's just like, right, that's it. You guys pack everything up. We're fucking out of here. Your security's done. It's fucking finished. And he's left. So we're packing up, gingerly packing up, going, oh my fuck, like what the fuck just happened there? Like it just didn't seem right. But you know, we followed what the RSM did. We packed everything up and we went back to the unit, and he's briefed us afterwards, and he's just like, you got to stand your fucking ground. Don't ever fucking apologise. Don't ever stand back. I'm just like, holy shit. Like,
he's having a bad day. His fourth wife probably just left him.
But it was so surreal. Another example of what he was like, I was out doing a patrol just on base, you know, and we were doing, I fucking hated, you know, like we were doing radar checks and I fucking hated that shit. It was like, I gave people leniency. If they're doing 43, 45 in a 40, I'm just like, I'll be like, slow it down. I'll give them the, you know, slow down, you know, like fuck, you know, because like they gave us this big infringement notice book, 1,000 infringements in it, right? And that was what we had for the year, right?
Oh, yeah.
In my entire MP career, bottom line up front, my entire MP career, which was from end of 2003 to 2010, 3 infringement notices in my entire career. And one of those was from my RSM, who took my book and gave someone an infringement. So, yeah, we're out doing radar check and people are speeding. I'm just like, fuck, slow down, you know, like... If they were doing 60 or 55 or something, I'd be like, oh, fuck, you know, pull over. And then, you know, I would give it to my partner to do. But I remember this just up from the RAP at Enoggera Barracks. There used to be a road that goes up towards Seven Sisby, and it was a 30-kilometre zone. And
they still got that. It's a 20K zone now.
Oh, 20 now. Oh, right. So that was the MP hotspot.
Oh, really?
It was where they send all the new MPs who have a brand new, freshly minted infringement notice book. That's where you get your first infringement, on that road.
Yeah, of course. Nobody took fucking 20 up there.
So you know,
fuck a little road in the middle of nowhere.
I know.
Just got those little lesson blocks on the side there, little dug in ones. Yeah.
Oh, I've seen people on push bikes ride faster up that road, you know, so... So there I was. Yeah, we were doing the radar check, and we just pulled over the duty driver from 214, and the partner I was with at the time in my section, he was X214, and he's just like, oh, I know that number plate. Pull over here. And he didn't even care what speed that was. He just wanted to pull him over. Oh, fuck. And he's, you know, shirt fronting this 214 duty driver, you know. Like, I was 214 myself, and I'm just there going, fucking good on you, you know. Didn't care. And this white Corolla comes up the hill, and I think they were doing like 35 or something like that, right? And I was just like, hey, slow down. You know, I've given the universal slow down sort of thing, and she stopped. And I was just like, no, ma'am, you're doing 35, it's 30, just slow it down, okay? And she's just like, what do you want me to do? And I said, just slow it down. I said, it's 33 here. And she's like, and she drove off. And I thought nothing of it. We kept on going, and I'm, you know, still doing the radar check and everything like that. About half an hour later, we get a phone call on the duty phone, and it was my CSM. I can't remember if it was Warrant Officer Mick Cracknell or if it was Warrant Officer Stafford, but one of the two. I think it was Cracknell, actually. Anyway, he's called me up on the duty phone. Smokey, what the fuck's going on out there? So we're just doing radar on near the RAP. Come into my office, bring your notebook, bring your infringement notice book. Oh, okay, sure, no worries, sir. Because we had to write down everything in our notebooks. Every incident that happened, we had to write it down. So I assumed it was for 214 duty driver.
Oh, yeah.
So I said to him, I said, I think the CSM's pissed that you pulled over 214's duty driver. And he's just like, that fucking ass. I was like, I'll stand my ground. Yeah, okay, mate. Because that was the rhetoric, you know, the mantra at the time. We've gone into the CSM's office, so, and he's just like, give me your fucking notebooks. And we had a look, and he's just like, where is the 2HSB's RSM? And it's like, 2HSB RSM? We didn't pull over the 2HSB RSM, sir. Well, who did you pull over? Just the 214 duty driver, that's it. Well, I got a phone call from the 2HSB RSM, and she stated that you were rude, aloof, and failed to give direction. I was like, what the fuck? So we didn't, I never spoke to the RSM of 2HSB. I think I'd know, but I don't recall. She was driving a white Corolla. Oh, no, sir. And I told him what I did, gave her the warning, and he's just like, is that fucking right? And I'm like, yeah, we just gave her a warning. All right then, well, this is what you're going to do. And he's pulled out my infringement notice book, and he goes, you're going down there and you're going to apologise. I was like, what for? And he goes, you're going to apologise for being rude, aloof, and failing to give direction. Oh, okay, no worries. He goes, then you're going to give her this. And it was the infringement notice. And I said, right. He goes, you're going to give her this, and you're going to tell her from me that if she's going to whinge about a warning, she can go fuck herself. And I was like, holy shit, right, okay. And he goes, when you've done that, come back up here and tell me what she said. Oh, fuck. All right. Okay, then. So there we are. We're driving down to HSB, and I'm just going, what the fuck am I going to say? Like, I can't
I can't say that, yeah.
I can't tell her to go fuck herself. There's no way. We got down to 2HSB, went into the headquarters element, and she was like the matron of country practice. She was just this, rotund sort of large female RSM, and she had the glasses on and all this sort of shit. And I've knocked on the door gingerly, ma'am, and she's like, "Oh, you're the corporal, you're the MP. Come in here." I didn't know what you were doing. I said, ma'am, look, before you say anything, I just want to apologise. I'm really sorry for being aloof, for being rude, and for failing to give direction. I apologise for that. So you should. I didn't know what you wanted me to do. Anything could have happened. I'm like, I'm really sorry. That's very unbecoming of an MP. Someone like me, we shouldn't have done that. So from my CSM, if you're going to whinge about a warning, you can go fuck yourself. Dropped it and I ran. I beg your pardon. What did you? I ran out and I'm running down the fucking stairs. Got in the car and I'm like, fucking man. My guy, the section commander I was with, he's just like, what did you say? And I'm like, just go. Let's get the fuck out of here. Like, I can't go to this RAP anymore. Like, oh my fuck. I just told her to go fuck herself.
Or going off base for anything, any medical help.
We went back up to the unit and went back up and saw my CSM, and he's like, and I've went into my CSM's office and he's got this big fucking shit-eating grin, and he's just like, that's the way, Smokey. Yep, you fucking did it. Right? Yeah, told her to go fuck herself. That bitch has been pissing me off. And so I'm like, oh my fucking God. Sir, I've got to go down there to get, medical treatment sometime. And he goes, don't worry about it, Smokey. I'll look after you. You'll be right. And he was a good bloke, that CSM, Mick Cracknell. I really had a lot of time for him. He was a great bloke. Taught me a lot. Him and I were once doing radar at the front of the gym where one div used to be across the road back then. It used to be at the front gate nearly. And Mick Cracknell and I were there doing radar during PT. So generally during PT we get people to slow down even more because everyone's got the right formed body of troops up the right away. And yeah, Crackers and I were just talking and having a conversation, having a laugh and all this sort of shit. And he was telling me all this shit he's done. And we're just having a good old fucking yarn. And this Porsche Porsche coming from the back gateway is coming down, and he's just like, here, put it up, Smokey. What's he doing? And I went, fuck, he's doing 65. Like he was travelling past a formed body of troops as well, doing 65. And he's like, pull him over. And I was like, fucking yep, get over, pulled him over. And it was this RAFI flying officer. And he had the wings, all that sort of shit on his fucking thing. Anyway, I've given him a box up, sir. Gilbert Dawson, military police, just you were doing 65 and a 60 there in a 40. Is there any reason for your speed today? And he's just like, we do it at Richmond. Richmond has 60. So this isn't Richmond, this is an Ogra. And then my CSM, and he's just like, don't you realise that on most military bases it's 40 kilometres an hour? And he's like, fair call there, CSM, but just let you know, I am working at one div and we are in charge of your funding for certain activities that you do on bases. And my CSM's just gone, the fuck, sir, is that a bribe? Are you bribing me right now? Is like, are you blackmailing me some way? And he's just like, of course not, CSM. I'm merely saying that I'm in the area that is in charge of the funding that takes care of all your activities that you go on. And if you would like that to continue in without any issues, I suggest that, we just forget about this and let's move on. And he's just like, right. He's like, actually, that's not going to happen. So he's writing down all his name, got all his details. And I gave him the infringement notice, and then he took off. And then we ended up going back. That was a bit of a blow up where, a flying officer trying to bribe the MPs out of a ticket. It was, quite surreal sort of thing. But, I had a lot of time for Mick Cracken. He was good.
Nice. You mentioned earlier you joined because Timor was kicking off. Did you not go over there?
Not initially, no. So I did Timor from an office in Canberra, if you know what I mean. And I also did it from an office in Kabbalah or Northern Territory. My role that I played in Timor in those early parts was in a communication centre back to Canberra or in Canberra at DSD. I was constantly in contact with personnel in Timor, especially the headquarters element and also the intelligence side of the thing, because it was all SIG-INT. And we would receive, all the appropriate information coming from there and then hand it off to whichever department required it. It was my role to spell check, and we did it with a dictionary or we had some of the computers that would help us out as well, but mainly we did it with the dictionary. So I have an Oxford dictionary, a Quarry dictionary, and any of the words, like any of the phrases that came back, there's a template they got to use. And then we had to make sure that the spacing was correct so that when it is sent via the communications, like for the satellite or whichever means they use, the less characters used, the quicker it gets sent, which is much like a fax machine, the same thing. So people would have these big sentences of what they would like, and then I'd be like, well, sir, let's remove this word. Let's minimize that. Let's take out that. Let's change it to this, and then we can send it in 2 packets instead of this one big one. And so that's what we were doing. And a lot of that was coming back from Timor. So we would see it firsthand, read it, and then, send it off. That's how I got to see 2001. That's how I got to see 9/11. I saw that in the communications centre when it came in. I was in Melbourne at the time, and that's also how I got to see the Bali bombing. I got to see that firsthand in the communications centre as well. That came in with that information. So, that was the type of stuff. So that is how the role I played. I was not physically there. It wasn't until 2006 when I was in the military police that I went to Timor. At the time I was a dog handler, so I became a dog handler late in the piece 2004-5. And then 2006 Timor kicked off, and I remember I didn't go with everyone else at first, but we were sent up to Townsville, and I remember Brigadier Slater was the 3 Brigade commander at the time. And it was my big first experience, my first operation I was going into, and it was pretty serious. There was lots of riots going on. I wasn't going over first. I was going to be I think I went over a week or 2 weeks after everyone else. So I waited in Townsville, and then I went up to Darwin for a bit and doing a bit more admin and organisation with the military police and the dogs and all that sort of stuff. And they all went over first, but I just remember Brigadier Slater got us all at 1 RAR parade ground, and I remember him saying, he said, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, Timor's kicked off. There's been an incident there. We've already got, SAS in King Country. They're dealing with it. I think they're going to deal with it. I think it's going to be finished very quickly with them. I think we should just get ourselves ready for Kata. Kata was happening. Kata was a combined arms training exercise in high range. And when he said that, and I was just like, the fuck? I did not leave my house, my family, to do a fucking exercise. And he was adamant. He was just like, yeah, look, it's just a roll of the dice. It's going to be 65-45. It's a roll of the dice. 65-35. It's a roll of the dice. 35 Timor, 65 we're doing Kata. So let's get our minds ready for Kata. And I was just like, what the fucking fuck? This is bullshit. Like, and everyone else, like all the guys from 1 RAR, just like, oh, fuck. Obviously, they were used to it, being 3 Brigade. They'd always, getting called up. And this was just another one of those fucking things that they were getting called up for. But no, we did go to Timor. And, we were there. Well, that group, that first cohort that went over, they went over pretty much the very next day. Oh. And they all stormed off to Timor. So I waited. As I said, I was in Townsville. Then I went to Darwin. I was there for 2 weeks. And then I went over after everyone else. And my role wasn't as a dog handler, but my role was over there was working in the detention centre in Dili.
Oh, okay.
And supporting the Australian Federal Police in their patrols. And also some of the infantry battalions. I think 1 RAR was there, elements of 2 and some of 3, but mainly 1 RAR. All our dog handlers were attached to, and this carried on for a number of years. They were with the main battle group, and then they were with the AFP, and they were with the New Zealand Defence Force. So,
what were you doing with dogs? Looking for stuff?
We were basically finding people. We hunted humans, is how I put it to them. That's what we did. We didn't find articles. We didn't look for bombs. We were looking for humans. That was our role. And also...
people that are hiding out. Yeah,
that. And also riots. There were a lot of riots at that time. So 2006, there were a lot of riots. So a lot of our dogs were like... they're not like the combat assault dogs we've got now. The dogs we had back then were like junkyard dogs that just, they were very well trained. And they are, trained to the nth degree. They have there's a particular test that they must perform, like that they've got to go through to be even considered to go overseas. And it's all part of, and it's in legislation that these dogs must perform these certain roles or tasks before going in on operation. And one of those major one was because they were classed as less than lethal. One of the major things that they had to do was at any time of an attack that we command them to attack, at any point of that attack, we have to call them back and they must retreat. Like they must stop the attack at any point. If they can't do that, retrained, do it again, retrained for another week or two until they get the picture of like, and we'll get them to there, like right up to someone's face and, like ready to bite and we go, leave, and they have to turn around and come back. So, that takes a lot for a dog to, do that because it's a primordial instinct for them to, do this. So
I don't think the American dogs get that much.
No, and
you see them trying to get them off and they're just ripping in.
They do. But I mean, like I did see, like when I was in Timor, I did see what the capability was like firsthand. Like I'd been bitten myself, like as a when I was on course for my dog handler course, and even when I was at the unit training prior to it, I got bitten on the hand, bitten on the arm. I got bit on the elbow. I think the worst one was a dog bite I got in between my legs. That was after Timor.
Suit on?
No, I didn't. Not down there. No, I had it up. I had my upper suit. So what I was doing was we were doing a 5K trek. So our dogs do like a 5 kilometre search. And we expanded each time to see just how far they can actually go before they lose the scent altogether.
Right.
And this particular dog was doing really well, and it was up to 5 kilometres. And it was at Oki over different surfaces, so concrete, asphalt, thick grass, thick bush, through creeks, through drains, upstairs, downstairs, in buildings, out buildings. We just like as an agitator, which I was qualified as, I would just walk anywhere on base, just sit down for a bit, scratch my head, and scratch my arms to get off all the skin particles so they could smell it, and then get up and keep walking. It goes for about 2.5, 3 hours sometimes, because the dogs will be very, they'll sometimes backtrack about half a K, then come back up again to look for the track. The idea is for the handler to trust the dog, not the other way around, not go off what they think where the person might have gone. They've got to trust that dog and let that dog tell them, even if the dog will turn around and come back. A lot of handlers would be like, oh, he's lost it. And like, no, he's just finding the scent again.
Yeah.
That's it. So that's what that all was all about. And anyway, there I was waiting for this dog and the handler to turn up. And I only had the bite arm on and or the bite suit on the top half, because that was the idea, was just to get him at 100 metres out. The instructor would, contact me in the radio. Yep, we're 150 out, stand up, move about. So what we were doing was, what's it called? It's called, I can't recall the name of the actual purpose of that thing's called. I think it's a prey drive enhancer. That's it, prey drive enhancer. So what that does is it enhances he'll see the dog is a nose down search, and it'll go, when they see me jump up from the bushes, I'll jump up and run over here and then get back down. And so what we want to do is get that dog's nose up and go, oh. And that 100 metre mark, I'll get up and I'll be, horning like that. That's where we want that dog to be, like indicating, instead of the nose down, indicating there it is, sort of thing. And so I was waiting for that to happen. The battery on my fucking radio went flat. Unbeknown to me, because I'm just like sitting in there, like this is at Oki in September, nice spring afternoon. I'm just standing there going, he'll be here soon, sort of thing. I'll wait for him to turn up, and didn't get any radio call, but I could hear the dog, because they're on a 30 metre lead, but I could hear this dog like panting, and I was just like, what the fuck? And I've stood up, and he was quite literally like 5 metres in front of me, and I was just like, fuck. So I missed all the marks. So this dog didn't get any markers. So it was like a failed exercise, really. And So I've turned around in a really, like I'm supposed to be animated. I'm supposed to be jumping up and down and, sort of thing. I didn't do any of that. I've just gone, fuck, and turned around to run. And the dog has just gone, oh, fuck, here we go. And instead of going for my arm with the bite arm, no, he had his own ideas. He's just like, fuck this. And he's just come up from behind, bit me in behind my leg, on the inside of my left leg, bit my asshole, bit my inner thigh, and locked on. And I was just like, oh, fuck it. I've held him. So I've got him in between my legs and he's locked on. Now, with dogs, they do different types of biting depending on their, I guess, I wouldn't say mood, but just depending on how they feel, I guess, really, yeah. They will either bite, pull and let go and get back on again, or they'll bite and type right and just bite, or, or they'll bite and hold. And he bit and held. And I was just like, oh. Now, with the handler, I was expecting him to, take control. But he knew that I had no bite suit on down the below, and his dog was holding on to me in my groin area, and you could see the blood pouring down my leg. Mm-hmm. I had, I could feel it running down my leg. It was hot. It hurt. It was hurting a lot, but I had to remain calm. I had to do the box breathing, and I had to control myself. And I've said to the handler, and I said, I want you to give the most loudest leave you can. And when you do, let me know when the dog is safe so I can then tend to my injuries. And he was just like, oh, I'm so sorry, Corporal. I'm like, just give him a really loud leave. He's like, okay. And he's just gone, the loudest leave. And the dogs, fortunately, like they can either grab hold and pull, or they can just pop and let go. And that's what he did. And I'm so fucking relieved he did that. It would have been a lot worse. I would have had, nothing left down there. But he let go and went back to the handler. And he's called, dog safe. And as soon as he's called dog safe, I've passed out. And I passed out because I was in so much pain. I woke up in the hospital at on base at Oakey. They have a really, really, really pretty good hospital there. I ended up having, they had to glue all the injury because they couldn't sew it. They had to glue it. They had glued my arsehole, so it got me in the rectum. So they had to glue all that back together. It went through my nutsack, didn't get my balls, but it went through the skin of the nutsack into my leg, and they had to glue all that back together. And I had to have gauze in there for like weeks, and it was just me eating fucking custard and jelly and, rice cream and boiled fucking vegetables or mash or chilled.
So you wouldn't shit solid?
Yeah, for a few, because, it was quite painful. So I'm fully cognizant of their capability of what they can actually do. So when we got into Timor,
you don't want to be a perp.
No. So when we got into Timor, and I'd seen them firsthand what they were doing to the Timorese, I was just like, oh, I know your pain. I knew their pain. But I was working in the detention centre in Delhi. We had some pretty high-profile prisoners in that detention centre. Some couldn't stay there. So when I got there, they had already arrested the Prime Minister of East Timor, Al-Khatiri. And he was placed under house arrest. And we were providing the security for his house arrest. So when I went over a couple of weeks after everyone else, I went over with the 2 or 3 CPP teams that were then, their role was to provide personal security for the Prime Minister, the arrested Prime Minister Al-Khatiri until he went to trial or prison or whatever. And so that was their role. One Officer Greenwood, I think, was the one who arrested Prime Minister Al-Khatiri. There's a big photo of him I think it was in the Darwin newspaper of I remember when that happened. And so when I turned up, he was already, Prime Minister Alcateri was already under house arrest, and they already had one of their ministers, Mr. Lombardo, I think his name was. He was also under house arrest, so that was the other team that was looking after him. At that time, it was very complex Timor. From the surface, it just looked like just a rabble rouse, gangs here and there and riots here and there. And there were riots all over the place. We could hear them. We were at the detention centre at night time. All you would hear was dinging on the totem poles, just ding, 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 ding. And that was where a riot was happening, and they'd do it over that side and they'd do it over that side. So that's all we heard all night. So if we were out with the Australian Federal Police, we would hear the riots and we would go to where the noise was and get involved. And with a riot, they don't come at you from the front, in a line. It is like, how do I put it? It's like trying to herd cats. They're just coming from everywhere. They're from the top, from over there, from behind, over here, there. It's just everything. And they didn't have conventional weapons. They had darts, machetes, sais, everything. And they had their martial art gangs, and now I've done martial arts, yep, but there's no fucking way that I was anywhere as good or as talented as they were. These guys were fucking blitzing it. They do it for life. They don't do it for a trophy. They do it for life. That's their, thing. When we had them in our, we'd arrest them, they'd get arrested for a fray or throwing rocks or whatever. And we'd have him in our detention centre for 72 hours. And then they'd see a prosecutor, and then the prosecutor would be like, yep, you're going to prison, or nope, you're getting released. When they were in our detention centre, they were small, nimbly sort of people. We were towering over them. But they tried their best. They had had all their gang alliance. They had their Sacred Heart, which was the tattoo on here. The Hitu, the 7-7, which was the tattoos up the arm. Hitu Lima 7-5, Lima. Oh, there were so many different Lima Hitu, Lima Sacred Heart, and Diablo. All these different gangs had all different symbols up their arms, and they represented different areas of Dili.
Right.
And we found out early in the piece that if you, I remember, I was in the detention centre writing down all their details when we were processing them and fingerprinting them, and I'd ask them, I'd grab their arm and I'd be like, hey, what's this? And they'd be like, they'd stand back and they'd be like, Hitu, and I'd be like, fucking settle down, mate. Don't get fucking smart with me. We'd put them inside we'd have to strip them, search them, and then put their clothes back on. We would give them a new pair of shorts, King G shorts, and we'd give them an orange fluorescent King G shirt or a fluorescent green King G shirt with their detention centre number on or the detainee number on their side, on their front. That later became a trophy. So on the streets, when there were riots, you would see people, you would see all these people with these orange shirts and green shirts, and they'd have 3 or 4 numbers scratched out because they'd been arrested 3 or 4 times. And it was like they were walking around with these medals of honour, I just got arrested by the Australians, So we stopped giving out the shirts, we stopped giving out the shorts, but we kept up with the thongs and the towels and all that sort of stuff. The next big high profile prisoner we had was Major Alfredo Ronaldo. And when he came in, I remember there's a photo of me at home of when he came in with all his rebels. And one of my doggy mates, Woody, with his dog Max, brought them in with, I think it might have been 3, 4. Well, they came in the back of the APCs, and to our detention centre, and Woody's jumped out with his dog Max, who was this crazy Mal. And this dog was a fucking crazy dog. I loved him. He was a good dog. Woody's jumped out, and he's just like, right, you open up the gates, we're bringing him in, fucking one at a time. And he's, orchestrating where the APCs come in, and they frog marched them out, and they put them down in front of the processing area in our detention centre, and we're all just talking to each other, and one of the interpreters come over and he's just like, senor, they know English, all English. And I was just like, oh, right, fuck. And their OC is just like, stop talking business, stop talking shop out the front. We talk shop inside, no more talking in front of them. Like, no more. But they were blindfolded and earmuffs and stuff, yeah. But it was no more talking in front of them, no discussing the process, nothing at all. It was we had to know we knew what we had to do, so we just did it. With all their processing. Ronaldo, when he first got arrested and was first in our detention centre, he was defiant, very defiant, with his rebels. They tried to not take over, but they tried to, they just didn't want to play the rules. We had strict rules in place and they just didn't want to play them. They were just being belligerent. We'd go to strip them and they would try to get dressed again, and we'd be like, no, you're getting undressed. We are searching you everywhere, like everything. And so, once we had finished processing him, we separated Ronaldo from the rest of his rebels because we found that when he was with them, he was really, defiant and a lot of bravado. But we separated him away from the rest of them. We put his rebels out the back in this other area of the detention centre. And the next day, quite literally, like all that night, we got no sleep whatsoever because it was just all night of these, at that time there were 25 rebels that we had to process, separate them, and then be on guard. There were extra guards on that night. And then we also had the help because the Australian Federal Police were in the detention centre with us, helping us as well. So we were using their template of watch house procedures, but we were implementing them. So they did all the admin, we did all the heavy lifting kind of thing. We the next morning the UN prosecutor came in, and it would usually take 3 days before we saw a UN prosecutor to come and say to someone, yep, you're going to prison or you're getting released. But they came in the very next morning, specifically because of Ronaldo and how precious or how sensitive this particular issue was. Because the whole Timor started off was because of Ronaldo.
Yeah.
And how that all started. So it was very sensitive. So the UN prosecutor came in. There was a female and a male from Portugal. They were Portuguese prosecutors, United Nations prosecutors. And once we had separated, and we gave them the opportunity for lawyers, so they had their lawyers come in. Once we had separated Ronaldo from the rest of his rebels on that particular day, like the very next day, I still remember I was in the hallway upstairs where the courthouse was, and we were about to take Ronaldo into to see the UN prosecutor, and I just remember there was about 4 of us, come to take him in there, and he's just like stood up and he's like, I'm fucking going nowhere. I want to speak to the fucking president. Get me Ramos Horta right now. And we're just like, what the fuck? Like, what do you think this is? And we're just like, and I remember one of my sergeants, he was an ex-British MP, now Australian MP. He was a funny bloke. He's just like, Ronaldo, you're not fucking seeing anyone. Just stop your bullshit. Let's go inside, all right? And he did it in a really strong Cockney accent. And I think Ronaldo was taken back by how he was like a West Londoner. And he's just like, Ronaldo, you're not going anywhere, mate. Stop being a fuckhead and just go inside. So yeah, we put him in the thing. Once he was away from his rebels, we prosecuted his rebels first, and they all got sent to the prison. So they were out of our detention centre, but we had to hold on to Ronaldo. We got special permission to hold him on for 2 weeks instead of, like, we were only allowed to hold him for 72 hours by law. Like, that's all we could hold him for. But we got special permission for Ronaldo. So we had to change the conditions of his detention. So normally we had 4 cells, and in each cell there'd be about 10 to 15 detainees in each cell, and they were given a rice mat and a blanket and a towel, clothes, and so on and so forth. Ronaldo was given his own cell. We had to get a fucking bed, like a stretcher. He was given the Q store gave him a sleeping bag. He got a fucking pillow. He got a bedside table with the Bible, because he was a religious man, so he had the Bible. He had. He also had a notebook that he was allowed to take notes in. It was a pencil. The pencil was really small, so he couldn't do anything else with it. He was allowed to store food in the cell, whereas the other detainees weren't. It was like they only got lunch and dinner, whereas Ronaldo got breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
What's he getting such special treatment for?
We had to change our conditions of his detention. We went from a detention centre to a like a prison. So we would have to give the same conditions as if he was in prison. So at the prison, they had those conditions. We had to provide those same conditions in order to keep him there, because he was a risk if put into the prison at that particular time, because he
influence.
He was a very big influence. Even the 2 weeks that he was there, he started to calm down. Like he had a food protest for the first 24 hours, but then when he saw everyone eating curried sausages and braised beef, he was just like, kind of changed his mind a little bit. But we got to talk to him. So we used to, when we were on shift at nighttime or in daytime, we would talk to Ronaldo, and he actually was. He was a passionate, patriotic Timorese. He really loved Timor. Like, he loved his country so much that he became a rebel against the Prime Minister that we had arrested, because he said he was corrupt. And he was true in the fact that the Prime Minister was corrupt. But I think Ronaldo kind of took it a little bit too far. He was given permission to have his rebels. He was given permission to be in Dili under the proviso that he didn't have any weapons or any communications with any other of his cohort, defence members. And he failed at that. That's why he was picked up the second time. So the SAS picked him up the first time and arrested him and placed him under house arrest across from the H pod. And he was being closely monitored by everyone at the H pod, which at the time was the New Zealand Defence Force and Raimi elements, and I think the infantry battalions, some of them were there. And he failed at it because he was seen with weapons, and that's when then he got arrested. He was brought in, and then after he got arrested, yes, we then had to change the condition of his detention at our detention centre. We were not allowed to still give him the same, like we weren't allowed to have him in with everyone else. We had to have him by himself with a stretcher, with the same comforts he would get in a prison, so that we could hold him there for longer.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why he was held there. But yeah, I got to talk to him most nights I was on shift, and he would just tell me all these stories about, when he was a kid, he used to love going fishing over at Croc Alley and, just all these, he was such a passionate man about his country, and he was so angry at the way the country had become because of the corruptness. He just wanted it to change. He was influenced by, I guess, the wrong type of people. He didn't have the normal influence he had if he was in the defence, where people would be like, no, we're not doing that, they would settle him down. He didn't have that anymore. He had these outside influences that were leading him up the wrong path,
Kill them all.
It was. And that was really sad. So, so then I remember the first time we took him to the prison, we were ordered. I remember we got our OC came down and told us, the Prime Minister, what was his name? Zanagusmao, ordered that, along with Prime Minister Ramos Horta, ordered that Ronaldo be removed from our detention, so we were no longer allowed to look after him, and he was to be placed into the normal prison at I can't remember the name of the place, but anyway, it was in Dili, but just a little bit further down towards UN Beach, down that end where the statue is. So yeah, we I remember the day we went to put him in the prison. We set off because also during the 2 weeks he was there, we had every single fucking day and every single fucking night protesters out the front trying to get in our detention centre, and they were coming in from the TV station to our left. They were trying to come in through Obrigado's, the UN compound on our right, and behind us as well. And we were on for 2 fucking weeks while we had him there. We were at stand 2. Oh, yeah. And we ended up getting infantry guys coming in to help stand 2 with us because it was just fucking every fucking night. Just
stressful.
Oh, it was a pain in the fucking ass. So we were in fucking helmet, our fucking body armor and fucking our weapons and all that sort of shit at night. And it was just. How long
were you over there for?
I was there that 2006. I was there from end of May, through to end of October. And I was told.
Was it about October, 4 or 5 months?
Yeah, so I was told 30 days. So that 30 days turned in from end of May through to October.
How did you go when you got back from that after that fucking high stress environment for so long?
So I wasn't aware of it at the time, but I had developed, a form of PTSD and a higher state of anxiety and also hypervigilance.
Yeah.
Only through so what we had to do as Australian service, we had to, with our prisoners or detainees, when they were released, we didn't just open the door and say, see you later, next time. No, we had to, as a condition, we had to return them to their place of arrest. So,
wow.
Or their place of if they weren't from Dili, we would have to take them to the edge of Dili and see you later sort of thing. We did that every night, because we were arresting each night we would, probably get about, say between 25 to 50 detainees coming in, and we would prosecute them the next morning and then send them off to a prison. Or the next day we would be repatriating them back to their place of arrest. And it was just a cycle like this. And it was every day we were doing that. So if you were working in the detention centre, you were in the detention centre. If you weren't in the detention centre, if your section was doing guard duty at the front, you were also doing repatriation drives. So we did it in convoy, and we would get attacked often. Like our vehicles, they were throwing rocks at our vehicles. They would shoot darts at our wheels. It was constant. And so we became, like, when we used to drive out, we would actually start. The Australian Federal Police started teaching us how to do particular manoeuvres and shit like that, or pushing things out of the way. Like they would put blockades, and we would have to, and we had our Land Cruiser troopies with fucking bull bars on the front, so we're pushing cars out the road and shit, and like we were having fun doing that. But it was in a high stress situation. Like we would return them to their place of arrest, but there would be people from their village waiting for us, and they would attack us. They would start shooting darts at the wheels, and you drive off with a puncture, and you'd be like, fuck, and get back, have to change the fucking tyre. Ramey guys would come out, and they'd change our tyre and shit like that. We were going through fucking probably about 5 or 6 tyres a fucking week. And it was just painful. So when I got back home, like in 2006, when I got home, I was posted up at Oakey, because I was a dog handler. And so my wife came and picked me up from the Brisbane airport. And at the time I was driving a Nissan Patrol, GQ Patrol. And got home, and I was just like, good to be home, saw the kids, at the airport, and I said, all right, let's go, we're heading off. And it was on a Friday afternoon, about 5:30, 6 o'clock I got home. And yep, all right, we're going to, drive back up. I'll drive, sort of thing. And I got in the car, and I was just, like talking to, geez, Timor, he's so different there, and just driving normally. And then I saw the traffic, and I've just gone, without even realising where I was. I just up on the gutter, up on the footpath, down through the roundabout, over the roundabout, and thinking, she's like, what are you fucking doing? I'm just like, what are you talking about? She's like, what the fuck? And I was just like, oh, fuck. Like, I forgot where I was. Like, I was 24 hours ago, I was doing that in Timor on the main supply route. And then, like, here I am at the Brisbane airport, just fucking. Yeah, so, those sort of things kind of, started to rear its ugly head. If I was ever in the traffic, I would get nervous and I would just start trying to look for an exit, trying to get out because I was like, fuck, am I going to get hit? Because, they're throwing rocks at our vehicles. We're not talking like little pebbles. We're talking like softball size or rock melon size rocks, and they do disable vehicles. Like they absolutely do. Like I have a photo of home of one of our vehicles that got absolutely disabled. They hit the front part of the Toyota, and then it hit the radiator, and they just started pelting it with the rocks, hit the windscreen, and throw shit at the A pillar, and they just absolutely just racked it. It's just terrible. So, we got really nervous every time we went for a drive. We were getting hit by something. And they'd just say to us, yeah, just keep driving, just keep going, get back, make sure you're safe. We weren't allowed to shoot them. We weren't allowed to do that. We're not allowed. Only if we felt, because our off cards did not allow us to shoot unless we were absolutely, shot at.
Yeah.
And that only happened the whole time, 2006, that happened on 3 occasions. I never fired the weapon, but what happened was we were coming out of Obrigados and we had Echo Troop, which was artillery bolstering infantry. So that's what they have, the Echo Troop. And they were at Obrigados, and across the road from that was the IDP camp, International, or the refugees, and they always riot. And apparently there was a riot happening out the front. Echo Troop came out to help, bolster the front of the UN compound, and they heard shots getting fired. So they thought they were getting shot at. So they started returning fire, but they didn't know what they were firing at. And we're inside the compound trying to get out, and I remember this artillery lieutenant, he's just like, get back, stay back there, get behind the wall, go to instant, get ready. And I was just like, what the fuck are we shooting at? Like, there's nothing there. Like, we can't see who we're shooting, but we were getting shots fired at us. That was when we found out that both the New Zealand Defence Force and the Portuguese riot police would fire warning shots over the heads of the riots to stop them.
Coming at you.
We didn't know that at that particular. That was early in the piece, and we didn't know that. Well, we weren't told. Didn't come down to us. But no, I didn't fire any weapon at all in Timor, not once. The artillery guys they were just fucking. They were doing the same thing. Now, and I remember one of the sergeants. He's just like, "Stop fucking firing! What are you fucking firing at? What are you firing at?" And it's just like, and so, yeah, that was that. Like the Portuguese riot police were, when we first got there, we were just like, who the fuck are these guys? Like, how dare, like they would come into a riot, right? And they would just fire these gas canisters into the crowd.
Yeah.
Right. And then just stand back, not do anything. And we're in the middle of all this riot and we're just like, we're putting on our gas. And we're getting like burning our eyes and shit. And the Portuguese are just standing back and then just fucking, with their shotguns just firing off into the air. And we're just like, who the fuck are you? And they would wail, like they had these long rubber sticks that we'd call dilly clubs, and they would just wail, like they were just wailing at the Timorese, and the Portuguese are big like they're big men, like huge. When we were first there, we were just like, we're going to report them to the United Nations Human Rights Commission. But after a while, when we were getting our own, sort of punishment from the Timorese, we're getting pummeled with riots or rocks or whatever. We were just like, bring on the GNR, because that's what they were called, the GNR. We'd be like, bring in the Portuguese. Where are they? Get in here. They'd rock up and I remember they would also get detainees, and then they would bring detainees to our detention centre before we took them to the prison. As I said, the Portuguese were massive. I remember one night I was standing at the door receiving these detainees from the Portuguese riot police, and the the Portuguese, when they bring their detainees in, they do it in a different way we do. We bring them in, stand them upright, bring them in, put them down on the ground on their knees, cross their knees, legs behind them, up against the wall. Not the Portuguese. They have their hands handcuffed behind their back with a stick under their arm, on their head, pushing their head down, then bent over so that their head is touching their knees and make them walk that way with their hands up in the air like that. It's really uncomfortable. It's not the method and technique that we use in Australia. It's really uncomfortable. It's effective, but it's extremely uncomfortable for the detainees. And they do break arms and they do pop collarbones out and all this sort of shit. Anyway, they were doing that, bringing them in. And I said to the Portuguese, whilst he was there, the Portuguese commander was there going, era, due, tre, quattro, counting them all out. And then he's signing all the paperwork. Here you go for you. And I said, thanks, mate. I said, hey, listen, we're swapping shirts. I said, an Aussie tradition, we swap T-shirts. Do you want to swap shirts? And he's looked at me and he's like, you're too small. Your shirt would fit my little boy at home. You're too small. You need to come to our compound. You take needle, you get big. And I was just like, and I'm standing next to my OC, who's a qualified, lawyer. And I'm just like, no, we're not allowed to do that. And he goes, your commander, he big, he take needle. You come, you get needle, we get big. And he's just like, no, we're not allowed to do that in Australia. And he's just like, yeah, that's why you're so small. And I'll forget about it. I was like, oh, fuck. So I never got a Portuguese shirt. The only one I did manage to get was the Portuguese bombardeiros, the fire brigade.
Oh, yeah.
And we would go around and give them coffee, tea, like our rat packs. We would just, because, we were getting food given us, but we'd give them all our rat packs. And they were like, yeah, this is great. And so they gave us their shirts. But they were the smaller Portuguese guys that didn't do the roids. They were just the fireys. But the Portuguese right police, massive guys, like just mountain men.
Yeah, right.
And they were huge. But they were that was quite interesting with the Portuguese. But when I did come home, the first time, I was unaware that I was kind of suffering from anything really. I just got myself into the spirit of things. When I got back, I was on the ground straight away. I didn't have I think I had about a week leave, if that. But I was back on the ground again. I was back in there training new handlers to come in for new dogs, getting dogs ready for the next deployment, because we were then in a rotation cycle by that stage.
Yeah, right.
And
pretty high tempo career then.
It was at that stage. So we were getting dogs ready, getting handlers ready, bringing in new handlers, going around to all the other MP units, recruiting. We were also at the same time doing all the exercises that were going on, supporting them. And then we were also supporting over in the West for all their conduct after capture and all that sort of stuff. So we were helping out with that. So we were just like, I was, 1 week I'd be in Perth, another week I'd be in Darwin on exercise, another week I'd be in Townsville with the RAF doggies doing flight line security, and then I'll be back down at Oakey, home for a week, and then I'll be in Brisbane with the reservist in at fucking Green Bank, and then I'll be back home. It was just constant.
How's the wife going with all the not home with the kids?
She kind of got used to it. Once I joined the MPs, that was constant. That was how it was when I first joined the MPs, and it continued on. But it got even more intense during Timor. She had a good group of friends. She had a good group of army wives and people that were helping out. Oh, yeah. So we had a lot of good support, especially up at Oakey. And as I said, like with the military police, the one thing I did give them credit for, especially with our dog handlers, is that they did support the family. I remember our neighbour, he was my sergeant, Mark Nelson. He was fantastic, like a really great bloke, really looked after the families, and he was a real good family bloke himself. He was X3 RAR. Again, it was hard ass motherfucker. He was like the ones I had in Brisbane, but as a dog handler. And he was great. Like he was a pull no punches, take no shit kind of when we were dealing with people. He was great. And when we were doing our riot training, holy fuck, he really ramped it up because he was over in Iraq with the British forces as an exchange. So, you know, he that was his thing, you know, he'd done that. He was right into his military self-defense, Krav Maga and all that sort of stuff. He was doing all that sort of shit, and he was a military self-defense instructor at the time. And he was great. I really, you know, coming from where he was, you know, X3 RER paratrooper, and he I remember once we were doing an exercise with 2 RER up at Shoalwater Bay, and we got there a week early. And so we were staying at the base at Rockhampton there. I can't remember the name, but we were at in Rockhampton, waiting for the exercise to begin. And we got there to get it because we would have to acclimatise our dogs. Oh, yeah. And so there we were doing that. And then all these protesters turned up to this fucking exercise area, like at Rockhampton. And so when we were situated on base was close to the fence line, and we would, these fucking protesters, all for peace, you know, like, we don't want war and all this sort of shit. They'd come past at like, you know, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night, ringing cowbells and dinging fucking pots and pans and no war, no war. And our dogs are going fucking ballistic. Like they are just like they could have easily chewed through the fence, because I've seen dogs do that before. And we thought they were going to fucking kill these people, and like we didn't mind, but you know, the hierarchy were like, but the hierarchy were like, no, we're going to get you out of here. So we moved from there to the caves, just outside of, just near Yeppoon, I think it is, the caves. And so we were there with the brigade support battalion in that area, and it was just like a campground that was just taken over by the army, and we had the Queensland Police out the front helping with the security, because this particular year, 2007, we had a lot of protesters at this exercise in Shoalwater Bay, and we weren't allowed. So the idea of us doggies, because my next deployment was going to be with 2 RER, so I was getting attached to 2. And so I'd already met all the guys from 2, but I had to acclimatise my dog, get a new dog, retrain it, then come back up and then meet them basically on X in Shoalwater Bay. So there I was at the caves, waiting to meet up with the guys from 2 who weren't arriving for another 4 days because they were on USS Kitty Hawk in the Pacific
carrier.
And they were going to be brought in by the fucking what do they call those hovercraft things? The big fucking landing crafts that the Americans have. These gigantic things, and I was told, yep, you're going to be flown to USS Kitty Hawk, get on the boat with them, and then you're going to do the landing on the shore, and then you're going to patrol from 1 Mile Beach into Raspberry Creek. And I was like, fuck yeah, like that's the shit. But because it was an international boat, we didn't get clearance from AQUIS, which is the Australian Quarantine Services. Our dogs were not cleared, so I was not allowed on the boat. And I was just like, oh, fuck. So they said, well, they gave me the next best option, which was to wait for them at 1 Mile Creek, but that wasn't happening for another 3 days. Oh. So we stayed at the caves. Whilst we were at the caves, we just basically were a PR fucking stunt. It was just us getting photographs with fucking, because there was Americans, there was what else? There was Canadians, the British were there, and all that sort of stuff. And it was just day after, from morning through till afternoon, it was just us getting a photo shoot of us dogs getting fucking biting someone. And and Mark Nelson had one of the what we call a pool dog. So it's a dog that any handler can have. And so he just had it, and he was, and look, I totally understand. He was all about networking, and he was really, really good at it. And he was like organising all these photo shoots. He'd be like, "Hey guys," like we were just there waiting, and then he'd just be like, "Hey guys, once you're down there, we're going to do a bit of a bike thing. We're going to do this, then with that, and then we're going to get some photos done, and we're going to show them what it's like when the dogs get closer to there." They were just like, "Oh, okay." So Mark Nelson was like our manager, and he was just like, right, photo shoot over there, and like, yeah, we're doing this for these guys over here, and we're going to be doing this. But he was networking. He was showing everyone, hey, we're doggies. This is what we can do, because not many people had ever really seen the dogs at that stage. So he was really doing a great job, and we were doing that. I remember what spoilt it for us was they all went, like Mark Nelson and a couple others, Wappy, my mate named Wap, and Dean Hedberg went up to the mess area, and I looked after all their dogs while they were having something to feed. There was always had to be someone around the dogs, always. And we were where the MPs were and where the Queensland Police were. And I just remember I'm sitting in my tent. It's pissing it. It's been rain. It was raining for fucking days. And I'm sitting in the tent just, changing my socks or whatever. And one of the MPs come running in there like, Smokey, one of your dogs has got the Queensland Police on hold. And I was like, what? What the fuck you on about? Like, speak English, mate. And he's just like, your dog's biting a policeman. And I was like, what the fuck? One of our dogs had unlatched itself somehow from its pen and got out and attacked this copper. And this copper knew because he, with the Queensland Police dogs, he knew just to stand still and not move. And this dog is holding him right here in the stomach. And I was just like, oh, fuck. I can't remember which dog it was. I think it was Khan. Yeah, it was Khan. And I just remember, calling out, Khan, leave. And the dog's keys come off, and he's come back to me and sat next to me. And I was just like, fuck, sorry about that. Like, I'm so sorry. And he's just like, no, I get it. I work with the Queensland Police dogs. I know what to do. And I'm like, okay, you okay? And he's like, I'm bleeding, but I'm not going to move until he's chained up. And I'm like, okay, just what? We'll get a medic. So we wheeled him up. One of the other guys, who was an MP, he was a dog handler previously, Bulge, we used to call him Bulge. He's seen what happened, and he's calling out, good on you, Khan, that's the way you fucking do it. Yelling out and all that, but it's like, shut up, Bulge. And he's just like, go, Khan, you beauty. From that moment, the commander of that compound called us up into his tent area. He was fuming. He was like, fucking, I can't believe that you let one of your dogs bite a Queensland cop. And it was like, it wasn't intentional. Like, the dog got loose, they get loose. And he goes, from this moment, like right now, you're out of here. You're going to 1 Mile Beach and you're staying there until the exercise starts. And it was like, 7:30 at night. It was pissing down with rain. I still remember it. Nelson was furious. He was like, he was just not happy, not at us, but he was just not happy at the officer that had kicked us out. He was just like, that fucking cunt would know what the fuck, I'm doing amnesty with this. He was so furious. And we were just like, Mark, Nelson, we just have to deal with it. And he goes, and he's throwing shit, packing it. It's pouring. And like, I'm trying to put on a raincoat. Nelson's just like, he just didn't give a fuck. He was just getting wet. He was wet. And he just kept on saying to me, just get wet. Just get out here and fucking pack up. Just get wet. Because he was, ex-infantry, 3 RER. So he's just like, just fucking get out of here and get wet and start packing shit up. Stop worrying about your pretty little fucking hairdos. And we're just like, oh, fuck. So we're packing shit up. We then drove at night through the rain, pouring rain in our Land Rovers, out to 1 Mile Beach, Shoalwater Bay. And we got there and we just set up as best as we fucking could in the rain. And we just accepted it. Well, we were just like, we're wet. We're wet. We're wet. So fucking what? Here we go. And yeah, we did the exercise. We had the exercise. We had a few fuck ups with location, meeting up with people, but we missed helicopter rendezvous points and all this sort of shit. We eventually married up with who I was supposed to be with my patrol. And I just remember it was the first time that the sun had come out in like 4 or 5 days. And I remember seeing there was like, a couple of F-18s having this fucking, it looked like an aerial display, but it was a dogfight up in the sky, and they were just flying around. It was fucking great. It was pretty good. There was a couple of other foreign aircrafts up there, F-16 and all that sort of shit, and they were flying around. We were like, fuck, that's pretty cool. We're good to be on the beach to watch that, but we're inside, we're heading to Raspberry Creek. We got about half a K away from Raspberry Creek a couple of days later, and the OT that was with us, a vehicle turned up, and it was one of the umpires kind of thing for the exercise, and He's just come out and he's like, you guys this call sign? And we're like, yeah, that's us. And he's just like, yeah, you guys got killed like 2 days ago. Like, I don't know why you're here. You're supposed to be like back up there. We're just like, what do you mean? And he goes, those aircrafts come over. They just did a bombing raid in your area. Like, you're dead. Like, what the fuck? So we had to turn around, go all the way back, like fucking ages. It felt like ages. Got all the way back, waited 24 hours, and then we could move off again because that was us resetting, and then off we go.
Respawn.
Yeah. And we were meant to then take over Raspberry Creek, but because of that mistiming, the Americans got the base before us. So we ended up going to the quarry just outside of Raspberry Creek. And, that's where we ended up staying for the next 2-3 days. And my dog at the time was suffering from a bit of hip dysplasia. And it does affect when it's on patrol because they will they'll slow down and shit like that. And I said that to Nelson. I said, he's feeling a bit like he just, doesn't look right in his back right leg. So then we got permission to go into Rockhampton, took him to the vet in Rockhampton, and they said, he's done he's done a ligament sort of thing. We're going to have to rest him. We're going to give him some medication to rest him up. And that was enough for Nelso to go back, went back to 2RER's fucking support battalion and just said, yep, we're out of here. We're gone. Dog's injured. We're gone. See you later. And we quite literally just packed everything up and fucked off back to Brisbane, back to Oakey. And then when we got back to Oakey, he was just like, no, we're not fucking leaving home. Well, we're not going home until everything's unpacked, dogs are washed, done this, into quarantine, because you have to, when they dogs leave, when they come back, they're in quarantine for a couple of days and then put back into the main kennels.
Right.
So that was it. So look, Nelson was as a dog handler. He was like, I had so much, and so my wife had that support when I was overseas. Eventually, after that exercise, I got sent up to Townsville, and I met up with my new sergeant, who was Aaron Barney, who was an very experienced dog handler as well. And his father was a dog handler during the Vietnam War, so he runs in the family. But Aaron had done Timor in 99, 2000 with a couple of battalions, so he was very familiar with the terrain of East Timor. And so I was meeting up with him in Townsville at 2RER, and he'd already been there for about 4 or 5 days before I got there. And he said to me, I arrived, we were staying at RAF Base Townsville. And he said to me, mate, meet me at Charlie Company's Q store at 2RER. I was like, cool, no worries. So I put the dog away and all that sort of shit. Grabbed my hat and drove out to Laverick Barracks. Got to 2RER, and I wore my beret. Right, this was my first interaction with 2RER that I was going to be working with for the operation. So I met the guys I'd done exercise with. I think that was Alpha Company, but now I was with Charlie. And they hadn't met me before, but they knew a dog handler was turning up. I turned up to the fucking 2RER, and I'm walking around Charlie Company's headquarter element. I'm like, with my beret on, I'm like, hey, I'm looking for Sergeant Barnett. Anyone seen him? No, I haven't seen shit. You're an MP. You know what to look for. You're an MP. Go find him. I was like, what the fuck? And everyone was just stonewalling me. Hey, guys, just looking for Sergeant, but no, I don't know. No, don't know him. Never heard of him. Sorry. Oh, what about your CSM? I don't know. He's not my boss. Sorry, I don't know. Like, no one. Like, absolutely just every turn I went, hey, can I, you guys know where Sergeant? No, sorry, I haven't got. And like, no one was talking to me. I eventually went to the Q store, and I met I saw the quartermaster, and I knew him previously from Brisbane. He was an MP. He was a quartermaster with the MPs in Brisbane, and I saw him, and I was like, hey, he's just like, and he's like, get your hat off. And I was like, what? And he goes, take your fucking hat off. I was like, what for? And he goes, no, dude, don't wear your fucking hat in here. So I took it off, and I was like, I'm looking for Barney. Have you seen him? And he's like, yeah, he's in that office over there. Don't wear the hat anymore. I'm like, oh, okay. So I walked into the fucking office, seen Barney. I'm like, hey. And he goes, well, where the fuck were you been? And I said, oh, no one was helping me, all this sort of shit. And I said, I was wearing my beret, and I said, and the quartermaster told him to take it off. And he's just like, you fucking idiot. What'd you do that for? So he gave me a bit of a rundown what was going on. And then we went back to Laverick Barracks. We went back to RAF Base Townsville to get some other stuff. And when we were there, and he's like, right, this time, don't bring the fucking beret, just wear a bush hat. I was like, done. Went back to Laverick Barracks, and quite literally, same thing again. Like Barney was back in the office, and I've walked up, and I've sort of, I'm seeing some of the few guys that I've seen before, and I was like, hey guys, how you going? They're just like, oh, hey mate, how you going? Who are you? And I said, I'm Corporal Dawson. I'm the doggy. Oh, the doggy, yeah, you're with Sergeant Barnett. I said, yeah, come this way, man. I'm just like, the fuck? I asked you like 2 hours ago. You tell me to fuck off. And he goes, what do you mean? Like, where were you? And I said, I was the one with the red beret. And he goes, oh, was that you? I was like, yeah. I asked you if you knew where he was. Sorry, man, I just don't look at you cunts. So yeah, you fucking, so it was a, when they see the red beret, they just see the red beret. They don't look at the face. They don't look at they just see that red beret and just go, fucking get up. Don't want anything of it. And I learned that really quickly. So I stopped. Like, that was the last time I wore the beret, and I took the patch off as well. And I just walked around with just, no MP patch or anything like that, just a bush hat. and that's how I rolled for, like, I went back over to Timor in 2007 with 2 RER and 5.7. That was a things had calmed down a bit more. Still had riots, but it was a bit more calm. We had an incident over there in 2007. One of the soldiers took his own life on deployment in 2007. We were there for that. That was pretty hard. Initially, the other thing that was hard for us was we had kids, 11, 12, 13, 14 years of age, were shooting darts at us when we're out in patrol and shit like that. We already had a few soldiers that had been hit with these darts, and they got pretty sick, and they got injured pretty well. Like, these are fucking proper darts. They're not shooting. Well, they shoot rocks as well, but it's mainly darts they were shooting, and they would penetrate pretty far in. And if they got in the stomach, like there were reports of Timorese being shot in the stomach and shot in the liver, shot in the heart, shit like that. Or shot in the throat with these fucking darts. So our rules of engagement were that if we were shot at, we'd have to give a warning in their language, and a very effective warning. 3 warnings: stop or I'll shoot, place the weapon down, stop or I'll shoot, stop or I'll shoot, but in their language. So we had to learn Tetum, Bahasa, and something else. I think it was Tedum or something like that. So because they speak 3 different languages there, and in the heat of the moment, you don't yell out, I had my warning for my dog, and I knew that off by heart because I used to say it a lot. And so if anyone was like, if someone was shooting at us or doing something silly, I'd be like, para, 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 asu butata, senor, asu butata, which is, stop, or my big dog will bite. That was it, which is the truth. That's what it was. And so I knew that off by heart, but I would say it even if I was getting, like, if I was going to, like, I raised my rifle or something like that, I'd be like, asu butata, and like I'd have this rifle pointed at me, but the dog, I had to learn how to say that. I never got to understand. Like, I can't even remember how it goes. All I remember is para, 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 asabutata, and that was it. And that's all I ever said. I loved working with 2RER. I loved working with 5.7. It was like, I don't know, they were just really, I found them accommodating, and I had a lot of good times. I think you've had, is it Jared you've had on here, the comedian?
Oh, Goundry, yeah.
Goundry, yeah. So he was with 2RER at the time. So he was there.
Oh, true, yeah.
Yeah, so, but I never got to meet him. I never got to see him. Like, I was a full corporal, and, yeah, I mainly hung around, the 5.7 guys or the Charlie Company guys. But it was, I had so much fun on that second trip, like, apart from, the incident like that. But, yeah, we would do some really pretty cool shit. We did I think first week I was there, the Australian Embassy had a hand grenade thrown over the fence. And I was always part of QRF. That was what I'd like. It was, we had 4 dogs and we were split up. So we had QRF, normal patrols, and then we had rest, and then we had New Zealand Defence. And that's how we rotated. We lost one of our dog handlers early in the piece. He got ill, and Brad Fuson, he got sent home. He was ill. So it was just myself, Shane Harden, and Aaron Barnett, and it was just us three. So then we had to pick up. We kind of had to juggle it a little bit more, which was fine. I mean, and I used to love working with the battalions. New Zealand infantry was good. They were very strict, but so they had they did things differently, only a little bit. I remember the first time I went to the New Zealand Defence Force base, which was near the S-Pod, near the International Hotel in Delhi, or the Sheraton, I think it was. Next door they were. The CSM, and you had to call him Sergeant Major. It wasn't Sir. You called him Sergeant Major, because I remember I saw him and I was like, "G'day, sir, how you going?" And he's like, "Yeah, good. From now on, it's Sergeant Major." I was like, "Okay, Sergeant Major, sorry."
In the New Zealand Army. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's what he was like with us. I don't know, maybe because we were MPs, but he insisted that we called him Sergeant Major. And he insisted on calling us Corporal. I'd be like, "Yeah, this is my Sarge Barney." And he'd be like, "Sergeant Barnett." And I'm like, yeah, so Barney here. And he goes, "Sergeant Barnett." And I'm like, "Okay, Sergeant Barnett and I are going to be your dog team for the next 2 weeks." And he's like, "Good, okay. I'm going to put you with the corporals, sergeant. You're going to be with the sergeant's room." So they had a corporal's room, a sergeant's room, and a digger's room. And I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. And then he also said to us, he goes, "Oh, you're going to help me with one of my diggers. He's getting repatriated back to New Zealand." When it's like, "Oh, is he sick or something?" And he goes, "No, he is under arrest." When it's like, "Oh, fuck, what did he do?" And he told us. So apparently this New Zealand infantry soldier, he was a big lad. He was a big Samoan boy. Apparently there was a riot out the front, and they got sent out to, stop this sort of riot. And apparently he had slung his rifle and just went around picking up these Timorese people and headbutted them with his helmet. Like he was a big dude, and he was just picking up Timorese and just headbutting them, putting them down and grabbing them. And they were running away from him. It was like Shrek chasing, little gremlins. He was like, "Come here." And all the other lads were telling me that story. And yeah, they were saying that he was just walking around like in the riot, just picking them up, headbutting them and just dropping them to the floor.
Dropping the limp bodies.
Yeah. And so and because it was not part of their off guard, he got put under arrest. So he was sent home, and he was the nicest bloke. He was I felt sorry for him because they put him in this cupboard. They got out the old pantry. They had a pantry in the mess area, and that's where they kept him because it was the only thing that had a lock on it. So it was probably about half the size of this room, but he was just sitting in there. He had a little stretcher and all this sort of stuff, and there was a digger sitting in front of the door and shit like that, and it was all air conditioned and everything in the mess. But oh man, I felt sorry for him. I saw him, and he saw us because he knew that we were MPs, and he thought it was like, "Oh, I'm going home now," and he's just like, "Hello, Corporal. Hello, Sergeant." I'm just like, "Hey mate, how you going? You okay?" And he's just like, "I made a mistake. I did my things wrong. I shouldn't have done it. I'm very sorry. I'm embarrassed the nation. I've embarrassed Timor. I feel, mate, just, it's okay. Like, we all make mistakes." And he's like, "No, you don't understand, Corporal. It's really bad of me." And I'm like, "It's all right, mate." I felt really sorry for him. Poor bastard, he just went over there to, everything. And in the heat of the moment, he just thought, well, this is going to work, and it was untidy. But the other thing with the Kiwis is that, they were allowed to fire warning shots. We weren't. But, when in Rome, you do what Romans do. And so we were out in a place called Matanato, now on the way out to Manatutu, or the other way around. Anyway, there was a big IDP camp, 5,000 strong IDP camp. And we were out there with our dogs, and there were constant riots, and the United Nations were having problems sending tents out to this IDP camp. So we were sent out there to calm the riots down and provide security for the UN to bring in these tents. And there'd been reports that some of the FFDDL, or the Timorese Defence Force, which their barracks was just down the road, were also living in the refugee camp, and had weapons in there. So there were these HK-33s allegedly inside this camp. So we were there just in case it kicked off. And it did well, not with the weapons, but with the riots. It kicked off every fucking night. There were vehicles come past and they'd be like destroyed, and you hear this, the tires being punctured and shit like that. And we were staying at a UN police station just outside of the area, the IDP camp. And every time we went out and patrol, we were getting hammered. We were getting fucking shit thrown at us. And, I'd bring the dogs out, and the dogs would fucking, we would stop them while they see the dogs, and they'd just be like, fuck, they'd be petrified, because our dogs were so much bigger than them and their dogs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we were doing that, and for about 3 days we were copping it, just getting smashed with riots. Our vehicles are getting smashed, the windows are getting broken, the Australian Federal Police or the UN police vehicles have been destroyed, and it was constant. And so the Kiwi sergeant, I remember he said to us, tomorrow morning, he goes, I want Overwatch on that hill. I want an Overwatch on that hill. I'm going to put someone up on that hill up over there. And so we had someone overlooking on all parts down into the IDP camp. And then he said, your dog handler, you're coming with me. You're coming with me. And he picked about 4 or 5 soldiers, and he goes, we're going up and we're having a conversation with the camp leader. We're like, right, okay, we're going to, have a conversation with the camp leader. And I was just there for the ride kind of thing, providing security, in case. We got into the camp, went up to the camp leaders, sort of like where the camp leader was. And this Kiwi sergeant, he straight away walked in, and the camp leader's just like, hey, how you doing, with the interpreter. And this sergeant's just grabbed him, and he's like, I'm fucking sick of this shit. Fucking stop your riot, stop your shit. And he goes, I've got 30 rounds that's going to stop the next fucking riot, and I've got a dog that hasn't been fed, and he's going to eat every fucking one of you fuckers. You either stop this fucking shit, or I'm going to use all of these rounds on you, and he's going to get fucking fed. Do you understand? And this team is just like, si, senor, me dispatch. And he's just like, right. And he's dropped him to the ground, and he's like, let's put a brew on, we'll have a coffee, and let's have a nice conversation then. It's like, all right. That's it. And quite literally, for the next 2 days, we didn't get any riots. It stopped. So then we went back to Dili, and we were back in Dili for about another 2 days, I think it was, and then it started up again. So we went back out there. They saw us turn up. Riots stopped. It was a different way of doing things. I remember after one of the riots, we were getting back into their, I can't remember what the Kiwis call their vehicles. They look like fucking Eskies on wheels. I can't remember.
Chili bin on wheels, you mean?
Yeah, chili bin on wheels. That's it. Yeah, we were doing that, and what the Timorese have, we used to use on us, not on us, but everywhere else. They'd have a 20 mil pipe, right? 20 mil PVC pipe with a something at the end, like a spark plug or something like that, and they'd put not gunpowder, but fireworks in the end of it, and they just smash it on the ground, and it let off a big explosion. Like, it was fucking loud, but all it was really was just like a fucking spud gun, but with black powder kind of thing. And it was fucking loud. Like, when they did it, it was loud, and sometimes it'd spark off, and there'd be a firework or whatever.
Bang stick.
Yeah, or they get fireworks and just let off a firework next to you. And we were coming back from this patrol that we'd just done through the IDP camp, and we'd had 2 guys already sat inside the this chili bin on wheels, and we'd had about 4 or 5 of us on the outside, ready to go in. And what this Timorese behind us just fucking let off this little fucking flashbang behind us. Scared the fuck out of me. My dogs immediately just reacted and turned around and grabbed him by the collarbone. I just grabbed him on the shoulder here. But the young fellas, the young New Zealand infantry lads, they just fucking panicked and fucking boom, let off a fucking warning shot, and he's let one off, and he's let one off. They're all fucking firing all these fucking warning shots, and inside the vehicle, the guys are letting off warning shots, and it's going through the fucking roof because they've all panicked because they didn't know what the fuck it was, because it was fucking loud. And so my dog's got this fucking person, and I've grabbed him, and I'm like fucking, placing him on the ground, and I'm tell him he's under arrest, and the Kiwi sergeant's like, no, he's not under arrest, just fuck him off, don't fucking do it again, cunt. So that was working with the Kiwi infantry. I loved it. It was different. Then with 2 RER, it was and 5.7. It was good fun. We ended up so there was an attempted coup where Ronaldo went and shot President Horta and tried to shoot Prime Minister Zana Gusmao with the rebel. He had new rebels, Solsini and Susar. Allegedly, they were Mogadishu rebels. They looked like Mogadishu rebels, but they were called Solsini and Susar. The day that Ramos Horta got shot by Ronaldo, I remember we went up to the compound after he was shot. The president's bodyguard shot and killed Ronaldo and shot one of the other rebels. Zana Gusmao was shot at but was not shot. He didn't get shot, and he managed to get away because he used to be a guerrilla warfare fighter himself. And that was it. That was us ready. That was when things ramped right up. And it went from this, we're calming Timor down, it's going to be relaxed. And then all of a sudden on 12th of Feb 2008, it just went fucking next level. These rebels were now armed and they'd gotten weapons from the West. We don't know how, but they did. And so, it ramped up. The SAS came in, I think the next day. Or that afternoon. It happened in the morning. By that afternoon, the SAS were in Timor. We then were bolstered up with the following day. We had 3 RER turn up, and then the day after that, we had the Australian Federal Police turn up, bolstered. It was an extra 150 Australian Federal Police, and it was like full curfew within Timor. But us with 2 RER and 5.7, we were at the president's house where he'd been shot and also where Ronaldo was dead. When we turned up, he was still there. Ronaldo was still there, I think the Australian Federal Police were doing their forensic stuff. We went further up into the mountain, up towards Dare, where the rebels had gone to, and we had cordoned off, along with the SAS and parts of 3 RER, we had cordoned off the entire village of Dare. And we spent the next 3 days just basically anyone who was coming out of Dare wasn't coming back in. No one was going in, but anyone who came out was getting searched, arrested, or fucking, told you're not coming back in. And we had it. I mean, the SAS had all their eyes on. I remember one night we got a call because the curfew was at 8 o'clock. And we had got the call over the radio from the SAS guys, one of the that were looking down, the recon guys. And he said, "Yep, sending 3 pers your direction, 2 males, 1 female." And we're just like, "All right." So they had captured someone that had been in the area and sent them back. And he said over the radio, and he gave us a description. White male, rotund, overweight, belligerent. Timorese male, scared. Timorese female, petrified. Coming your direction. We're just like, oh, here we go. So there we were. We had these 3 people coming in our direction, and we were waiting because that recon guy was like about 100 meters away from us, looking down into Dare, and I could just see these people like waddling down the street, like down this road in the mountain, and the major at the time, I can't remember his name, but he's called me over and he's like, "Smokey, bring your dog. When they get here, we're gonna search them. We're gonna do all this." And we're like, "Yeah, cool, no worries." When they arrived, they were all naked. Their clothes were wrapped around like behind their backs because they'd been zip tied, and they're fucking one of the Timorese had his feet together as well. So it was a British reporter from, I think it was Time magazine, with two Sherpas, these two Timorese Sherpas who were going to take him into Dare to interview the rebels for his expose. And he'd been caught because it was after curfew and he was in a cordoned off area. And he didn't get very far because he came in from the mountain down and, as soon as he got into the cordon area, he was like, boom, done, off you go. And he came to us, and I remember he had come to us, and the OC was like, right, who are you? What's your name? Where you from? And he's just like, I'm a reporter from Time magazine. I'm a British citizen. I have a British passport. You know, this is absolutely disgusting what you guys are doing to me. I cannot believe that people of the Commonwealth are doing this to one of their own. And we were just like, you're in a cordoned off area. You are walking around after curfew. You're under arrest. And he's just like, but I am being given an expose to speak to these rebels directly. And we're just like, no, you're not. Like, you are under arrest. And he's turned to my major. I turned to the major, and he goes, I have a check in there. I can make it out to £50,000 if you like, and we can have this sorted out very quickly. And the major's just like, sorry, your money's not worth shit to me. You're under arrest. You're coming with us. So, yeah, he got fucking arrested and he got sent away. We were meant to go in and get these rebels, and we were expecting a bit of a clash. We were providing the gate for them, so their entry-exit point with the dog. And this, I don't know if anyone's aware of this, but not a single shot was fired, and we managed to arrest and take hold of 45 rebels without a single shot. Not one single shot fired. You know, we all rained on them, but when they saw us and they saw who we were, they dropped their weapons and came very quietly. And, we ended up, getting them all out and getting them all arrested and bringing them down to the A pod. And that's where they were kept for the next 2-3 weeks while they were put on trial. But, not a single shot fired. We managed to disarm and dethrone these rebels.
Nice.
It was like, and not many, I've never heard anyone else talk about it, but like it was, I don't know, I thought it was pretty spectacular thing. Like normally we just, go in like, fucking, they expect guns blazing, but it's a tactical thing. Like it was the way they did it and the way it was all done. We basically starved them of, like for 3 days, we starved them of everything. Any food coming in, any drink, anything, any weapons. We just basically just starved them of everything. And by the time we came in and when the SAS did their thing, and quite literally once the SAS had done that, that was it. They were, boom, off they go. One of my good mates, Sean McCarthy, he was there at that time. He was an EW operator. And that was the last time I got to see him, the days before, because they came in and we had to do a bit of a couple of debriefs with them all. And Sean was at 7 Sig with me back in the day. That was the last time I saw him before he got killed in Afghan. That was in 2008. And then, after Timor finished, the military police and what they did, they got sent to Kapuka. They were like, you're not going to be part of the MP dog handler cycle anymore. We got a whole bunch of new handlers coming through, so we're going to send you to Kapuka. MPs do Kapuka or, detention centre or something else. And
did you do your 2 years RI or?
No. So I got down to Kapuka I came home from Timor in end of April. End of April 2008. And because I went there in August 2007, came home beginning of May, end of April 2008. And then I was home for 1 week, and then I got sent straight down to Kapuka and did my RIC course, my recruit instructor course. I went down there by myself. My wife stayed back up at Toowoomba, and then did my rec course, raised my first platoon. I was in 34 platoon, Delta Company. I had a full stag platoon, which I was very fortunate. I didn't mind the doing the recruit thing, but at that time, again, I didn't realize this, but I was suffering from PTSD. Hypervigilant, extreme anxiety, and just burst of anger. It suited Kapuka well.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Right.
Pretty much every hour. Yeah.
It suited Kapuka well. I fitted in very easily at Kapuka with that mantra, like with that mindset. I was, it was completely different. So when I first joined up the army, when I got to Kapuka, I had an MP get on the bus and just berate us, get your fucking shit off the bus. When you get out there, you're going to be showing me all your weapons. I am searching your fucking bags. Don't fucking bring any weapons, blah, blah, blah. And, and we'd have to have our bag searched, and then we were off to our platoons. That was when I joined in 2000. When I did my RIC course, we saw what it was like to raise a platoon. Completely fucking different. It was a bus that turned up at about 2:00 in the afternoon on a Wednesday, and they were met by, I think it was the platoon commander, and he'd be like, "G'day everyone, welcome to Kapuka. Congratulations, you've made it. Your journey starts today. You're at Kapuka now. When you get off, I'll just get you to place your bags down over there. We're going to go through them and search them and get you to stay on that line. And all your paperwork, we're going to hand that off, and we're going to go into the broth centre inside here in this place in here. And there's coffee, there's tea. We've got orange juice or water if anyone needs it, and biscuits if you want something to eat, and fruit. We're going to hand over your paperwork. We're going to go through all your paperwork, make sure everything's correct, and then we're going to hand you over to your section commanders. Okay, welcome to Kapuka." And then he got off the bus, and I was just like, what the fuck? And then as an MP, they were like, just search their bags for weapons. And I was like, where the fuck are the MPs? Like, this is their job. I'm the RI right now, that it's like, no, but you're an MP, so just search their bags. And I was like, fuck me. So I'm going through people's bags, what's this for? Bringing out big army knives and shit like that. And they're like, you're not going to need that, mate. Oh, yeah, but down at the police station at Kapuka, there's a big display of all the weapons that's been taken off recruits as they enter Kapuka. 223s, shotguns, bow and arrows, fucking crossbows, machetes, sais, fucking nunchucks, knuckle dusters, the whole fucking lot.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm serious. There were some people. I remember Axel Foley, one of my old MP sergeants. He was an MP at Kapuka, and he said to me that he did a bag search, and he found this 223 rifle inside the thing, inside his bag, and it had weapons, bullets and everything. And Axel said to me, like, what the fuck are you going to do with this? And he goes, I'm from Western Australia, and, I'm a pretty good shooter. I shoot rabbits all the time, and I'm pretty good at it. So I thought I'd bring my rifle because the scope on my rifle suited to me. And he's just like, no, mate, no, we're going to give you a rifle and you're going to shoot with our scopes. And he's just like, but that scope there is like, no. Like, they actually think that they can bring this shit to them. So so that's the sort of shit. But, yeah, got to Kapuka as an RI, did the RIC course. And as I said, I was just an angry human at that stage. I was really I probably shouldn't have gone there, but I did, and I suited it well. I was an angry human being. I was belligerent. I just didn't give a shit. I just was cold. I was an asshole. I was a complete and utter asshole. I was a, as one of them called me, I was a cunt. I was, but I didn't give a shit. But it was because I was, at that time, I was actually in the midst of PTSD.
You were cooked, yeah.
Yeah, I was.
How long did you last?
Not long. I was meant to be there for the 2 years. The way they did it back then was you did your first 2 platoons, you raised, you were mentored, and then on your third platoon, or the third platoon you raised, you were basically on your own, like you were no longer mentored, and you were no longer assessed. that's when you got your RI badge, and then on the next ones after that, you then became a mentor yourself for other recruit instructors. I raced that platoon. I had a recruit who we were doing the degrees of weapon readiness and the condition of load. We were just at that condition, and this recruit stopped because I said, that completes the condition of load. Are there any questions? No? Good. Excellent. Okay, let's move on. And he's put his hand up, and I was like, recruit, what's your question? Corporal, I'm really tired. Can we have a break? I'm like, no. Pick up your weapon. Let's go. And he's just like, and I'm like, did you just fucking tut? And he's like, and that's what I was like. And I said, did you just fucking tut at me? Oh, Corporal, I thought you'd look after all this sort of shit. What the fuck does that mean, recruit? And they go, I'll see you on the admin line after this lesson. So I fucking, did the rest of the lesson. We all went back up to the platoon and got him to stand on the admin line. And I went inside and prepared the infringement notice for insubordination. Well, tutting is a part of insubordination. So, I was doing an SQ1 for him, or a soldier quality report, and for insubordination and tutting. And I went, when I did discipline on the admin line, I did it the same way I used to do it at DFCE. When they enter DFCE, it is just two people from either side and just fucking and just yelling, right? And I did that, and that's how I did it. And it worked well because I would say to them, stand on the admin line, don't fucking move, stand at ease, stand at attention, look straight ahead, don't fucking look at me. And then I'd go inside, type up the SQ1, and then walk out, place it on the table next to the door, and then I'd just go, and then I would slam, and I'd let everyone know what I was going to do, and I would slam the RI door shut, and I would slam it hard, and it would echo through the whole fucking platoon, and then it was just like, don't fucking look at me, and then it was just on, and I would just go into this diatribe for about 5 minutes of just him, why he was disciplined. I would recite, the section in the Defence Force Discipline Act on insubordination, and then I would use an example of why it's not accepted because this could get someone killed, and are you prepared to have that on your conscience? All that sort of shit. It was just a diatribe of just, to get them out of this, fucking headspace they were in. And then I got him to sign the fucking SQ1, and then I got him to fuck off, and we'd be like, now fuck off. We all had this, see who could do the best fuck off sort of thing. And, I'd just be like, now fuck off, and knife hand him down the hallway. And then I'd go inside, and they'd be like, fuck, that just sounded like DFC. And I'd be like, yeah, it kind of was. And I'd be writing up, because every time we interacted with a recruit in that manner, we'd have to write a report, and it went to the sergeant and so on and so forth. And whilst I was doing that, there was a knock at the door, and it wasn't the door knock procedure. So we, all us recruits, we're like meerkats. We're just like, who the fuck's knocking on the door without the door knock procedure? With these two recruits. So these two recruits are like looking at us like, got these stunned look, and they're just like, Corporal, recruit so-and-so is trying to cut his arm. And we're just like, what the fuck? And it was the recruit that I just reprimanded. Apparently had this, was trying to cut himself. So I've bolted down the fucking hallway into his room, and there he was with a class knife of all fucking things, not his dagger, because they didn't get that until they weren't due to get their dagger until
week before assault or whatever.
That's it. Yeah. They don't have it in their thing at all times. But anyway, it was his class knife of all fucking things, and he's there just like crying and shit. And I was just like, what the fuck? And I didn't even I just went into MP mode, and I just put the weapon on the ground, and I just fucking threw him to the floor and took the weapon out of his hand, and I was like, what the fuck is your problem? Why the fuck are you trying to cut yourself? And he's like, oh, everyone's yelling at me, my mum, my dad, and you guys. And it was just like, well, where the fuck do you think you are? You're at Kapuki, you fucking idiot. Everyone fucking yells at somebody. I was just unleashing on this man, because he was trying to kill himself. I just lost all compassion. I was just complete asshole, and I was just unleashing how fucking, why do you do this? And I just lost. I think I just lost myself, and I got really. It wasn't until after I spoke to this recruit, and I was just like, you can't even fucking do that right. You're supposed to go up the arm, not across, you fucking idiot. I lost myself. I was really angry, and at the time I didn't realise, but that was, the starts of, PTSD, where you just have no control over your emotion, you have no control over your words, you just splurt out whatever's in your head. And I went back down to the thing, and he ended up getting sent down to psych. And whilst he was down there, the psych came up and saw me. I think that was in the afternoon. The psych came and saw me the next morning and said, he told me what you said. And she said, that is absolutely unacceptable. And I was just like, yeah, sorry about that, ma'am. Look, the heat of things pop out. And she's like, no, absolutely not. Like, that is an absolute disgusting thing what you said. And I was like, well, I apologise, ma'am. But the heat of the moment, it's just how it is, And she's like, it is not how it is, and it's not how it's going to be. And she goes, I'm going to be speaking to your platoon commander, and I'm going to be speaking to the OC about this. And I was like, okay, sure, no worries, yeah. And I got put on extras. I got 3 or 4 extras, platoon duties, and other duties as well. And it kind of, that was kind of the beginning of the end, like the very beginning. But I was like, oh, no, I got to pull myself together. That was a stupid thing to say. I shouldn't have said that. That was dumb. When the recruit came back, because he was medically discharged after that, he got himself discharged. And when he came back, because of this mindset that I was in, he came back, and I've called out the platoon, like 34 platoon, hallway 34, and they've all come out, and he's walking up the hallway collecting his stuff, and I was like, recruit, before you go, next Anzac Day, where are you going to be standing? Because I know that all these guys are going to be standing right behind me, ready to march off. Have a good life. And the captain, psych, she's, the guy's walked away, and the captain, psych, she's just gone, that's it. That is it. And I was just like, what? I'm just asking him a question. And she's like, no. And then, I got more. I got infringed for that one because it was inappropriate. It was completely. But at that time, I was such an asshole. I didn't know. I was just being a real dick. And then the next thing after that really tipped me over the edge, that got me, I went well over the edge. My mate, Sean McCarthy, in July 2008 was killed in Afghanistan, and I wanted to go to his funeral. I was pretty hurt because the last time I saw him was when I was in Timor, and then the time before that was at 7 Sig. But there was another warrant officer back with the military police. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to mention it, because I just have no time for him. I've mentioned the names that I've mentioned because they're good blokes, and I really appreciate them. This guy, I'm not going to mention his name whatsoever, but I think he was in the same headspace as me, if you know what I mean. I rang him and I said, listen, sir, one of my good friends just got killed in Afghanistan. His funeral's up at the Gold Coast. Is it okay if I just take some time off and go up there and see him? And he's like, Smokey, you're down there for a reason. We all lose people. I lost my auntie when I was at Kapuka. You have a role to do. Maybe you could catch up with him later, meet up with him later. And I was like, no, sir, you don't. This was a good mate of mine. And he goes, Smokey, you're not a SIG anymore. You're an MP. And he goes, and right now you're an RI. So finish your time there and you can deal with it later. And it was quite literally that day, I put in my court transfer.
Oh, true.
That day. I was like, fuck you. Sorry, I was angry. Yeah, I was really angry that day. And so, I put in my court transfer and got out of Kapuka, never got my RI badge. And I went to SIGs. I went down to the School of SIGs. So,
did they kick you out of Kapuka?
No, I left. Yeah. I just said, I can't do this anymore. I was really angry. And of course, because of the things that I'd said, and I'd spoken to Psych, and Psycho were just like, yep, we'll approve your removal. You're probably not ready, or you're probably going to, spiral out of control. And there are other instructors there, and they were just like, no, stay here. This anger is going to be great. And I'm like, no, this is no way. It's not going to work. And so I did. I court transferred immediately, put in the court transfer. That was in July. It did not get approved or looked at until November.
What did you do in the meantime?
I went back up to the battalion, back up to the MP dog handlers, and I just did exercise after exercise after exercise. They just sent me from here to Darwin, down to Townsville, up to Rockhampton, down to Greenbank, out to Wide Bay, over to Perth. It was just go here, go there. I put in my transfer, and when it finally got approved, the CO of the battalion, I'm not going to mention his name because I'm not a fan of him. I don't know if he's still in anymore, but I didn't like him. He came up to the MP doggies section specifically to tell me that my transfer had been approved and that I was going to be on the next course in Melbourne in 2009-10 in Melbourne. But what he did, the way he said it, he came up to me and he's like, well, he pulled me aside away from everyone else. And he's like, yeah, Smokey, look, it's a real shame that you've put in your transfer. We had, a lot of, we had high hopes for you. We had this, that, and all that other for you and all this sort of shit. And I was just like, no, look, I said, it's done, sir. I'm heading off down to the School of SIGs. I'm going to be a tech. And he's like, listen, mate, I couldn't care less, what happens with you from here on in. I couldn't care less. I'm just going to let you know that technician course, a lot of mathematics. It's very difficult. I was an electrical engineer at RMC. I did electrical engineering degree at RMC. That was a lot of mathematics. I don't think you have it in you. I reckon you're going to fail. When you do, I'm going to post you up to Darwin and then back down to Kapuka. Excuse me. And I was like, well, I reckon I'll do it right, sir. I used to be a technician in Telstra back in the 90s. I reckon I'll do okay. I said, look, I'll tell you what, if I do pass, I'll invite you to my march out. And he's like, not fucking likely. And I was just like, no, righto. And I thought, you dickhead, what a stupid fucking thing to say. Like, what an asshole. Anyway, and I was like, I'm glad I'm leaving this crew. And the doggies were great. They were fantastic. Squizzy Taylor was my CSM there as well. He was a great man. There was, Mark Nelson. One of them now is actually is in Parliament. He's going for Parliament around here. Dean Clement. He's actually going to be part of the local member here in Sanford. He was another good dog handler. He was a great man. He was a good bloke. They were all good people, but it was just the hierarchy. Some of them were just absolute pieces of crap. And so I left. So I went down to the School of SIGs to do my tech course. And when I was down there waiting to do for my course to start, the MPs down there, which I knew as well, I got on well with them. I started doing a bit of work before my course started. And I told them about what the CO had said. And so, I did all my course. The technician course, it was a bit difficult. There was a lot of new mathematics that I wasn't familiar with. So converting hexadecimal to binary, then binary to decimal, then decimal back up to hex and up to octal and all this sort of shit. And then, really, and then learning computer languages, all that sort of stuff. And then, but I did it all. I got it all. I got my, we did Cisco, I did IC&D too and all that sort of stuff. And, got familiar with computer language. And then that was it. Became qualified. I passed my course. So the MPs down there, they were just like, hey, Smokey, we've sent an email to the CO inviting him to your march out. And I was just like, oh, yeah, let's see if he turns up. He never turned up.
Yeah, of course.
He never turned up. But what he did do was send me an email, I think it was about a month after I marched out, saying, congratulations, wish you the best of luck. And I didn't reply. I was just like, okay, cool, whatever. It was just, probably his secretary said it or something. But then after that, I was in Townsville. I was finally back. Well, I was back up at 3 Brigade as a SIG. And then, we all got sent up there. I was part of Cyclone Yasi when we first got up there. So Cyclone Yasi hit. We were living in a house at Pimlico in an old Queenslander, which was built back in the 50s. But I thought to myself, it was built in the 50s. It's gone through a few cyclones. It should be all right. But no, Yassi hit. We ended up with a palm tree through the fucking roof. But because I was part of the Ready Reaction crew of 3 Brigade, I got called up. So I got sent to Tully for Op Yassi. And I had to rebuild the communications up in Tully. Oh, yeah. So I did that for about a week, whilst my wife and my 6 kids were back in Pimlico in Townsville with no power and a leaky roof. But we ended up getting put in a DHA house after that. And then I went to Afghan in 2011. I was over in Afghan doing I was part of the FIT team, installment team. So I was installing telecommunications into buildings in various locations.
Yeah. I remember Josh Quick did that over in Afghan as well.
Yeah, so I was doing that at in Tarrancount. That was just after those 3, the Blue on Blue, when was it? I got there in November 2011, and
there was August, was it?
In August there was that where they were training the Afghan army, and one of them turned around and shot a few of them. We were there just after that, and I remember all the Afghan army, National Army personnel were unarmed, were disarmed, and I remember. When they finally did get their weapons back, I think it was in 2012. I think it was January 2012. They got their weapons back, and I just remember I was walking back from one of the locations on base in Tarrancount that I'd just done an install, and they were all standing. So they were all sitting in the back of their vehicles with their AK-47s, AK-74s, just standing, like just watching everyone. It was really hard to watch. It was a bit concerning. They were flexing. They were really flexing big time. It was, Afghan was good. I opened my eyes to something different. That's when I discovered, I saw, some humane people, a mate of mine, ex dog handler, spoke to me about humane when I was over there. So I got made aware of it. And then 2000, when I got back from Afghan, I got sent straight to the combat training school in Townsville, which was great because I had a really, really good OC, was Major Robert Nolan, ex-British forces, turned Australian forces. He was a great man. I had a lot of respect for him. Him and my CSM at the time, Trevor O'Brien, OBS, he was ex-Special Forces radio operator. Great man. Both, I love working with him because they just were all like, it was just a better, it was a very comfortable group of soldiers to work with, especially at the Combat Training Centre. We had an extremely busy schedule. Like I was outfield probably 7 months of the year, all up, together, but spread out.
This whole time, so you started going off the rails at Kapuka, and then you pushing through for a couple more years, doing another deployment. You're working busy tempo with field and stuff. So you're just sort of pushing it all down and hiding it, and
I was
holding it in. I
was, yeah, absolutely. I really was. And it was the mindset, like that's how it was for us. I remember when I was at the Combat Training Centre, we had it was this suicide program we had to do. We all had to do this suicide program and look for the signs of suicide and so on and so forth.
Assist or whatever.
And I remember one of the OTs, warrant officers, artillery, and also this infantry warrant officer. The attitude of PTSD back then in 2012-13 was, if you weren't infantry, if you weren't armed corps, why have you got it? That was their rhetoric. I remember, because that was when I was first made aware of certain, signs of. Just want to grab a drink.
Yeah, you're right.
We were first made aware of signs of what PTSD was, and yeah, I remember this bloody this infantry warrant officer and sergeant and this artillery warrant officer. They were just like, in 3 Brigade, the only people that really have the PTSD are the fucking infantry, artillery, combat engineers, and armoured, and that's it. I don't know why you SIGs would have it. You're in an aircon office all the time. It's just like, and I was just like, oh shit, maybe I'm not supposed to have it then. Like maybe I don't have it, And I sort of said to him, I said, no, I was dog handler attached to infantry. And he goes, where? And I said, oh, Timor. And he goes, oh, fuck, the holiday camp. And I was just like, and that was the ready, because this, so he'd done Iraq, he'd done Afghanistan a couple of times, obviously. And yeah, that was the mindset, like at that particular time.
Yeah.
And it was only a very brief, and it was only with him, not with anyone else. So again, it was like, oh, all right, I haven't got it. Don't talk about it, sort of thing. Like, I'm not going to mention it. I remember at Laverick Barracks walking past the RAP and seeing this soldier out the back with these 2 nurses on either side of him, and he's smashing a chair into a tree, yelling and screaming into this tree, just smashing this tree. When I was doing PT one morning, running past, and I saw it, and I was just like, what the fuck's going on? Because I heard someone screaming like, and smashing, and he's just smashing, picking up another chair and just smashing it against this tree. And there was these 2 medics on either side of him just standing there. And I was like, what the fuck's going on there? Like, holy shit. But that was, for me, I was just like, oh shit, like I've some people are, react differently to it. Like, but for me, no, I didn't really display it. I was displaying signs of it, but I didn't want to, especially at the combat training center. I mean, fuck, I was a SIG in a combat training center, and they were just like, what are you fucking SIGs for? That was their sort of rhetoric.
Yeah.
But no, look, I learned a lot when I was there as well, because what I was doing at the combat training center was not just providing communications, but what we also did, and they actually sent me down to Canberra to learn cameras, digital cameras, IP cameras, and all that sort of stuff. So, and the installation, because that's what I was doing in Afghan as well. I was installing cameras into some locations. Right. And so then that became like a specialised thing for me, like installing cameras, bringing it back, IP and capture. So what we did with the combat training centre, instead of having an OT standing over the shoulder, watching someone on a mentoring task, and then critiquing them at the spot, we put cameras up, and we put the cameras, and the OTs would be in a room back at the combat training centre, and the exercise area would be up at high range, and then I would broadcast it back to the combat training centre, and so they didn't have to go outfield. For some of them, they loved it, but others, they were like, they saw field as, this is my chance to pay my rego, so I'm going to go outfield.
Get some time away from the kids.
That too, yeah, there is that. So that's what I was doing. I was providing the camera link back to them, and I would set that up. A lot of soldiers were unaware that these cameras were. We told them. We said there are cameras everywhere watching you. Just so you know. But especially like at 11:30 on a Saturday night when they're doing inside the briefing room and they're trying to do a report, they forget that the cameras are there. And this one night, I remember it. I had just come back down from high range after setting up these cameras inside the briefing room for 3 Brigade headquarters. Brigadier Noble was the 3 Brigade commander at the time. And he was a short sort of bloke, stocky sort of man, great bloke. I remember I'd come into the viewing room because I had to make sure that the equipment was working at both ends. And I remember 11:30 on this Saturday night, this major or a battle captain or something like that. Anyway, was preparing his brief, with his overlays. He had his overlays on the map and all that sort of stuff, and had them all ready, and had his stuff out. And you could see him there practicing and pointing and going through his brief in his head when there's no one around. And the OTs are just like, oh yeah, he's doing this with his overlays, and we're just like, yeah, cool, no worries. And then Brigadier Noble walked in, and he's just like, okay, so what you got? And he's like, right, so excellent. Okay, so the avenue of attack for airway is this way, and the avenue of attack for a brigade of tanks coming in this way is this way, blah blah. And he's given his brief and all sort of stuff, and Brigadier Noble was just like, the audio went out for about a minute or two, but we didn't really need the audio, but obviously whatever he had said affected this major, because you could see him, he's just gone, and pointed this and done that, and he's just like, and sort of, dismissed him, and then he walked off, Brigadier Noble walked out, and this major just sat there, like stood there, waited for him to leave, and then he's looked at the overlays, and all of these other lieutenants and everyone else is still around, and he's just picked up his overlays and his map, he's walked into the next room, which also had a camera in it, but no audio. And he's just placed it down on the ground thinking he was by himself, but he was being watched. And he's just set the map with the overlays on the ground, and he's just staring at it, just looking at it. And then he's just tore it up, ripped it up and throw it at the wall. And he's just like, and he started screaming and crying. He's like, He's not expecting, thinking that he was alone. And we're all just there going, I remember the OTs are just going, oh, fuck, okay, so he's lost it. Oh, no worries. Yeah, no, they get on the phone. Yeah, he's in the briefing room, just behind the briefing room. Yep, and then you'd see this captain walk in. Hey, sir. So yeah,
spy cams.
Yeah, we told them, they knew, but they forget when you're. But we did make cameras look like other things. We would have them set up in a in a light, or in a we'd have one set up in there, or in a fire alarm. We'd have 2 or 3 fire alarms in the room, but and they'd all be flashing red, And people would think that there's fire alarms, but no, they were actual cameras watching you. We would have microphones in light switches. We would put, and that's what we did, just to capture everything without having an OT being there. And they were all told before the exercise, you will be filmed the whole time. You will be under audio observation the entire time you are in these areas. Just be aware of that. And so that was what we did. And that was, I was enjoying myself a lot there. Major Nolan, who was my OC, got wind that, that when I was in Afghan, I had a conversation with someone about the human, and I just made a brief, what's it about sort of thing. And Major Nolan kind of said, well, when he was in the British forces, he did the human sort of thing. And I was just like, oh, cool. And he said, before you put your application in, before you write your resume or your essay you got to write, he said, I'm going to make sure that you're suitable for it. So he kind of did his own little thing, but he was more qualified. He was pretty well versed on it. He joined the British forces in the 1974, and he was in the Royal Marine Commandos.
Yeah,
and
just interviewed a couple of those over in Thailand.
Yeah, and so he was in that, and he was in Falklands in the 80s.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, and he did Kosovo and all that sort of stuff, and then he did Ireland in the 80s as well. So he's well versed on that sort of shit. So I took his advice more than most people, because I had a lot of respect for him at the time, and he was a really good leader. And he would do things. He'd be like, I'd be at my desk in my office, and I'd be typing up a report or getting something ready for an exercise, and he'd be like, Michael, come in here, and I'd be like, yes sir, and I'd go in his room. I'd like a cup of tea, and then come back in here, please. I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, no worries, sir, whatever. I didn't care. I'd make him a cup of tea, and I'd be like, yeah, there you go, sir, there's your tea. I spat in it for you. And he's like, very good. Before you leave, don't look around. What is the name of the brand of the TV in the type on the wall here? And I'd be like, passive attention. You've got to be more attentive than that. You've got to watch everything, right? Get out. Oh, fuck now.
Turning you into a Jason Bourne.
Yeah, that's what he was doing. He just kept on, every time he'd be like, Michael, yes, sir. Cup of tea, please. Fuck. So I'll be like looking around going, okay, and looking at all the light switches and everything and seeing what there was. Here you go, sir. The TV is made by Sanyo. The clock says 15:30 and this says that. And he's like, what'd you tell me that for? Oh, just in case. And he's like, no. He goes, there's a time and a place to give information and now is not the time. Get out. No, fuck. But no, he was really good. He helped me with my essay for my application. Application was successful. I tried it. It wasn't. Yeah, it became after time. Like I did both courses, and there were some elements of it that were I couldn't grasp it. I just wasn't getting it, so I removed myself from the course. And then a couple of years later, I tried it again with the other part of it, and just the. I think it was then that I started to really, really break down a lot. I think my cup was getting full. As I said. So on this other course that I did, we were speaking to psych every couple of days just to be debriefed on what we were just talking, because it was a lot of talking. There was a lot of conversations that I was having with people. And at the end of the day, like getting up at 7:30 until 10 o'clock at night, there's conversations, planning conversations, having the conversations, planning the next one, so on and so forth. Yeah, it really got to me. I would sit in my room at 10 o'clock at night, at the end of the night, and I would turn off the lights. I would put on my headphones and not listen to anything but just white noise.
Yeah, right.
I just didn't want to hear. I didn't want my thoughts to take over. I didn't want anything. I just wanted noise in my ears. And I just went back to when I was a radio operator listening to HF at night time. And it was just, that's what I was, I don't know. I just wanted to, I just did that every night. Just sat in the dark room, closing my eyes and just listening to fucking white noise. And
Static
white noise, just random shit, because I just didn't want anything else. I didn't want any, because everything, I was analyzing everything. Everything was being, like I was breaking everything down, and I was like, it was like when I was an audio engineer. I love music. I love listening to music. But then when I broke the music down, every time I heard a song, I was breaking it down, and it no longer became a song. It became something else. So I stopped doing it. And this was, for me, was that. I just didn't want to hear anything. So I just, every night, and unbeknownst, that was me just getting even worse and worse. And the way I would let that out, like I would go down to the gym at 11:30 at night and just punch the shit out of the bags for like hours, just beat the shit out of it, like just not even do proper boxing, just do dirty street fighting shit, elbows, knees. Oh yeah. I just needed to get that tension out. I ended up getting posted up to 7 Sig Regiment as as a technician this time. So it was my third time at 7 Sig. And this is towards the end of my time. And I was up there married unaccompanied. So my wife Kelly was down in Brisbane and I would be up at Kabbalah, and I would drive back and forth every weekend.
Could she see you deteriorating?
She did. Yeah, she saw me. I was, fading away. I was just this, I was emotionless. I was, just fading away. And I didn't know. Because I was back up at 7 Sig Regiment, every single night or every time I finished work, and I worked my ass to the bone up there. Like I would work if someone was looking to, like, because we always had our duties and so on and so forth. We had our squadron duties and then our regiment duties. If someone was looking, because a lot of the younger folk, they didn't want to do their duties, and they were like, oh, I can't because I've got to go to fucking Pilates or some shit, just random shit. And I'd just be like, I'll do it, but you fucking owe me. And they'd be like, oh, okay, I'll do your duty. I'm like, no, you're not doing my duty. When we have the boozer on Thursday night or Thursday evening, you're buying me a fucking drink. That's it. And that's how it became. So I every Thursday I'd have all these drinks, and I just started drinking. But during the week, like every other day, I was either on duty or I was at the pool swimming, and I'd get up early in the morning and I'd do 40 laps in the pool, 25-metre pool, so it's only 1K. And then I'd do that before PT. I'd do PT, and then I would then start work and do my work, whatever I had to do. And then in the evening, in the afternoon, I would then go straight to the gym, do an hour workout in the gym, and then I'd do about, half an hour, 40 minutes on the bag, and then I would in the pool and do another 40 laps, and then back into my room. If I was on duty, then I'd be doing that instead. But that's what I did day in, day out for 3 years straight.
Yeah, right.
And
it's keeping your mind fucking heavily occupied.
Absolutely. I, and it was, I was occupied, but it wasn't helping me. I wasn't helping myself or anything like that.
No, just distracting yourself.
It was. Yeah. It wasn't until I got posted down to Brisbane. Back down to Brisbane, I was at 7 CSR. This is the end. This is my demise. Like, this is what the catalyst was for me. So, yeah, I got to Brisbane, 7 CSR, and again, like, I was just trying to, keep up with the Joneses. I was, all the young fellas were, doing the inaugural hill challenge and all that sort of shit, and I'll be like, yep, let's go. Like, I'm, in my late 40s, and I'm like, let's do this shit, and all these young, 19, 20, 21s are like gone, and I'm just like, oh, fuck, I've got to do it. And like, I was pushing myself hard, still doing the swims in the afternoons in the pool. This time it's a 50-metre pool, so I only did 20 laps, still 1K, but that's what I did. The first thing that was the catalyst, or the first thing that kind of that turned me over, we had a new technician come in. I was this time I was a full corporal again, as a tech. Had this new digger come in, and he looked familiar. He kind of looked familiar, and I was like, "Hey, mate." He goes, "Yeah, I'm the new technician." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Tell me a bit about yourself." And he's like, "Oh, I was a sergeant in infantry." And I was like, "Fuck me!" Like, and you become a digger? And he goes, "Oh, I needed a trade before I got out." And I'm like, "Yeah, cool, no worries." And I said, "What units were you with?" And he's like, "Oh, 2, and then 5-7, and then I was at the School of Infantry." And I was like, "Oh, what year were you at 2?" And he's like, "Oh, 2007." And I was just like, "So was I. I was at 2RAR in 2007. I said, I was a dog handler." And he goes, "Oh, are you Smokey?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." And he's like, "Oh, I remember you. Yeah, we always, you always used to come up to our thing." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Where were you?" And he's like, "Oh, I was here and I was that." And we started, reminiscing a little bit. And I was like, "Oh, so good to see someone, finally, I haven't, spoken to anyone that's from 2 or 5-7 since then, blah, blah, blah." And over the next couple of weeks we were talking, and we got on really well. And then we got to the conversation about, the Private Baker that took his life. Now, I remember my story. I remember how I remember it. But he told me something different from his point of view. And I was just like, "No, I saw it like this." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, you guys, yeah, but I saw it like this. This is how us diggers saw it." And I was just like, and that was it. I don't know. I just lost. I think I felt like I was being selfish by only taking my point of view. I don't know, but I didn't want to hear anyone else's point of view that whole time, and I just didn't want to know about it. But then when he told me his story, his version, and the lead up, it really it made it personal, that kind of thing. Like I started, getting not compassion. I started getting I just started to lose it. I just got really and I started to drink heavily. Then all of my anxieties started to come back. I was living at Warner at the time, and I was riding, and I had a motorbike. I used to ride my motorbike to work.
Yeah.
Because when I used to drive my car, like at night time, I would come home, I would have a Stein glass, and I'd fill it with ice. I'd put a can of Coke in there, and I'd fill the rest up with bourbon or rum, or sometimes both, and just sit there in front of the TV just drinking all until it was gone. And if I felt like having another one, or if I drink it quick enough, I'd have another one, and then I'd just go to bed. And I'd wake up the next morning, drive to work, and sitting on fucking Sanford Road at fucking 6:30 in the morning. I was just like, fuck this shit. I'd just, I'd get to work, I'd park in the car park, and I'd just sit in the car park, and I would just, turn off the radio and just sit there until about 7:15, and then walk to work. I was just like psyching myself to go to work. I was just like, I don't want to fucking do this. I started running cars off the road. I started pushing cars. Like I'd be on Sanford Road, and I'd just all of a sudden get this anxiety attack, and I'd get I felt like I was back in Timor, and I felt trapped, and I'd start pushing cars out of the way and hitting them and shitting and driving off, and then I was really fucking bad. And then I did it once with Kelly in the car, and she lost her shit at me. And I was in my BMW. I had a 2000 BMW, and I use it for hill climbs and stuff, and I'm hitting these cars, and she's like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing?" And I was just like, "You don't understand this." And he goes, she just lost her shit. She goes, "Stop fucking making excuses." So, yeah, she kind of opened my eyes to it. So then after that, she made me ride my motorbike.
That seems a little less safe. At least you're protected in the car.
Well, I wasn't ramming.
Punching windows.
Well, I did. I started kicking mirrors and shit. What made it worse? What the catalyst, I guess, was. This one day we were doing a PT session, and I went all out. I was like, like gung-ho. It was a beep test up to 7.5, then doing a 1K run, and then coming back and doing a beep test from 6.2 up to 8.9, then going for another run. And I was just blasting. Yeah, we were blasting it, like absolutely just, I was putting all in because these lads wanted to go special forces, and I was just like, yeah, well, this is how we used to do it in the day. And we were smashing out this PT session. And then all day I just had this crook, my back was just, I just wasn't, I just had this itch, not itch, but this twinge in my back. I kept on stretching it throughout the whole day. And then that night I went home. I didn't even drink that night. I remember I didn't even drink that night. I remember I just came, went home, and I just laid in bed, and I said to Kelly, I said, my back's really fucking sore. I can't do shit. I said, I think I got DOMS, I got delayed onset muscle soreness. And she's just like, oh, give me some ibuprofen. I took some of that. And then she came in afterwards to, say, oh, dinner's ready. Come and get your dinner. And I couldn't move. Like, I was just like, I just cramped up, and then I couldn't move. Like I just lost, and then I lost all feelings in my legs. I remember my toes started going all tingly, and then I just couldn't feel my legs. And I said to her, I can't fucking move. She's like, what do you mean? I said, I can't fucking move. Like, I just started panicking. I said, I can't fucking move. And she's moving my leg, but I couldn't feel it. Like, I couldn't feel her touching my leg or anything. And I was like, I've lost all feeling in my fucking legs. I said, call an ambulance. I said, do it now. So she called an ambulance. The ambulance turned up, and I still couldn't feel my legs. I was sent to St. Andrew's Hospital in town, and I spent a whole week there. 3 of those days I had no feelings in my legs.
Fuck no.
I couldn't walk.
How scared were you?
I was petrified. I was like, what have I fucking done? Like, is this how it's going to be for the rest of my life? They did all the x-rays and all that sort of shit. Turns out I had lumbar spondylosis in my spine, and the nerves were just...
nerve.
Yeah. And it was going to keep on happening and getting worse. And so that was it. The doc said, you've got this, like, this is, we can operate. We can do an operation and fuse your spine, or you can just deal with this and just manage it with your weight and so on and so forth and exercise. But you're going to have this a lot. And I refused to fuse my spine. I just didn't want that. And then that was it. That was me. That was my decline. I went downhill big time after that, emotionally, and also physically. I couldn't.
So you got mech downgraded, and then you're not doing your job anymore either. So
I was. I went from being a section commander within a fit team to training admin. And I couldn't go anywhere. And then I started losing myself mentally. I then that's when all the demons started to come out and started to bubble up. And so then that was it. I went down, saw psych, and I ended up That was when I really realised, shit, something's happening here. And they then sent me to a psychiatrist. I was then seeing a psychiatrist probably about 12 months before I got out. And that's when I was diagnosed with PTSD, hypervigilance, severe anxiety, depression, and I think that was it. Yeah, they were the main ones. And
the whole cocktail.
Yeah.
Like alcohol abuse or anything? Or
That's it. Yes. No. So that was the other thing. So I told him about my alcohol, what I was doing each night. Kelly actually told him, not me.
Fucking snitch.
We had the CEO of 7CSR. He had Kelly come in, and we sat down with the doctor, the psychologist, the padre, and someone else, the RSM, my CSM, Patchy, Craig Patch, who's now the RSM of 7 Sig, and my platoon commander and OC. And they sat me down in the headquarters element, and they were just like, okay, you're seeing psych, you've got this back problem, you're MEC 3 at the moment, J3, so you can't do anything. Is there anything else? How's at home going? And they asked Kelly, how's things at home? And she said, well, he sits in front of the TV drinking every fucking night, does this. And they were just like, what the fuck? Like, why didn't you tell us? And I'm like, what? Why? Like, I was just like, why?
Why would I tell you that?
Yeah.
Why would I offer up that information?
Yeah, that's what I do at home. And then from there, they were just like, okay, so they sent me to the rehab center. I had to attend an alcohol and drug misuse course. I did that, and then after that, they said, no, you can go off to the Soldier Recovery Center. So I spent the rest of my last few months at the Soldier Recovery Center.
Yeah, right. What year was that?
2022.
No shit.
Yeah.
I would have been there.
Really?
I was a dude up at the front giving the lectures on pain and all that sort of stuff.
I remember them. Yeah, right. Well, you look different with that.
Yeah, I was clean shaven.
You were.
I was still in there.
So I did that. I love the Soldier Recovery Centre. I think I believe that it is an essential tool for soldiers, sailors, aircraftmen when leaving the defence.
Yeah.
Whether you're
Who was your EP? Was it Jono?
Oh, I can't remember their names, to be honest. There was an artillery guy, young fella, and who else? I just remember the sergeant. No, sorry, the OC was obsessed with running. He was part of the Run Army.
Paul Hayes.
Yeah, him.
He still is. He just did a 50K on the weekend.
He really, holy mackerel. Yeah, he was there. We had you've had him on your podcast recently. O'Gorman, is it? Sean
O'Gorman.
Sean O'Gorman. Yeah, he came in. He was good because he was a dog handler himself, and when he rocked up to give us the talk, I was wearing one of these hats, but I had my MP dog handler hat on, and he's just like, "Oh, you're a doggy," and I was just like, "Yeah," and I kind of got spruiked up a bit, and he kind of, he helped me out of a bit of a rut that I was in. He got me out of that rut. We did all these. I really enjoyed my time there. I believe it was very beneficial for my exit. And I mean, I planned my exit meticulously with the help of the Soldier Recovery Centre. I made sure that every single form and that I needed for my super, for my what is it? Yeah, my super,
DVA and ComSuper and
the whole lot.
Yeah.
But all of that, it really didn't help because I've been ginned about by DVA since I got out. The process was because I was part of it was VEA, DERCA, and MERCA.
Oh, so you're across all three.
I was all three, and so I didn't get the full benefits, and just recently it's just made it harder. So with my super, works a treat. My Class A pension, no worries whatsoever. That's helping me pay my mortgage. I've got the the DOHAS loan and all that sort of stuff. So
credits and stuff.
Yeah, so I got all that, and that's all helped me out. That's perfect. It's the DVA side that is really. I've only just last year got my gold card and TPI. TPI was last month.
Yeah, right.
So that's
22. So what's that? 4 years.
You
just got your gold card.
Yeah, just last year.
Yeah. I heard something the other day where they're saying that, we're getting claims through in 3 months. It's like, the fuck you are. It's like 2.5 years, yeah.
They're not. No way.
They're full of shit. Anyone that fucking listens to those politicians saying how fast they're going through, they're absolutely full of shit. They're taking at least 1.5 to 2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, talking about the soldier recovery, mate, I've fucking said it till make people's ears bleed, but every fucking soldier in the army should be going through that centre.
I absolutely believe that. So you have Kapuka getting into the army, you have RMC getting into the army or Air Force or Navy or whatever.
Yeah.
I believe there should be that to get out.
Yeah.
But I was seeing on so many, even just before I was getting out, I had young fellas who'd only done 4 years, got their qualifications, got their Cert 4 and got their Cisco fucking certification, and then they were just like, I'm out of here, I'm going to work for Fujitsu. And I was just like, dude, don't. Like, it's a contract for 18 months. What are you going to do after that? I'll get another one? No, 18 months later, I'm back. I fucking warned you. I warned you, I saw it so many times, and they would just drop mic and leave. Like, they wouldn't plan anything. I'd be like, get your DVA stuff sorted, get this sorted. Nah, I'm fine. I'm just going to go back to working. I'm like,
don't need it. Yeah. Well, you don't want to fucking, if you're still young and fit, you don't want to get your DVA and just sit on the couch, but you should fucking at least put all of your stuff on there so that you're covered for later on in life.
Absolutely.
If you don't think you need it now, you might need it when you're fucking 45, 50.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're paying your medical bills because you didn't get it fucking covered.
That's right. I mean, like, I'm now, like, since getting out, I went from rentals, and then I've just recently, like last year, I bought a home up in South Burnett. I got 5 acres, and since being up there, I've been into hospital twice with my back. So it's still, like, it's going to be a problem for the rest of my life. But with my gold card, it does help. My psychologist and psychiatrist, which I still see. I see my psychologist twice a week, and my psychiatrist once every 3 months. As of July, that changed. I'm only seeing my psychologist once a week now. It's been reduced, but I get paid to come down to Brisbane to see my psychologist, so I get travel allowance.
You get the travel allowance.
Yeah, so I get the full travel allowance. And Kelly is my carer, so she's classed as my carer, so she gets part of that payment as well. So, it all helps, but it took a long time with the gold card. I went to the Veterans Review Board twice.
Oh, really?
Yep, because wasn't happy with the decision they came to, and then.
Did you have a good advocate?
I did, actually, yeah. I've had 2. I've got a second one. I've got another one now, like up in South Burnett, and I'm using the ones up there now because the one I had down here, it was just really difficult to communicate, because I needed to be in the room with him and show him stuff, and it just became a little bit harder. I mean, he was a great advocate, really good, did a really good job, but the distance thing really affected me and us as well. So I ended up getting another one in my region, and they're pretty good as well. But it worked out okay. Not entirely how I envisioned it. There's no cash cow anywhere. Like, before I got out, I remember hearing people saying, "Oh, you've got all these conditions, you're going to be so rich." And
I was going to say, especially going through soldier recovery, when you would have heard all the stories about how much money people are getting.
It doesn't exist. It is simply not there. It just, like, I got probably half, maybe quarter of what I was meant to get. There was, like, it was enough for a deposit for a house.
Just because of that split system thing. Yeah, because back at the VEA, they didn't even do payouts back then, did they?
No, Durka did just payouts only, and Merca do a combination.
Yeah.
If you choose it. But no, I don't. I got about a quarter of it. So it was enough for a deposit, and that was it. So it was it is what it is. Well, I don't like saying it is what it is, but it's, It's yeah.
How's the other side of it now? How's the drinking and the mental health and stuff?
I manage that pretty well. So I'm a member of the RSL up there. I'm probably the youngest one there.
Yeah.
They're all
That's not hard.
they're all Vietnam vets. And the president of the RSL up there is ex-Navy chief, petty officer.
Yeah.
He we get look. I get along with all of them. They're all great people up there. But they're just It's 2026. We've got to come up with the times. We've got to be modernised. We are. It is.
It's like the Bible. It needs to be reviewed.
It does. It really does. I mean, like, I appreciate what they're doing. Like, I do quiz night every Thursday night at the RSL. I need to keep my mind active. During the rest of the week, I'm in the backyard because we've got 2 horses, and my neighbour's got cattle and sheep, so I help out with them as well. I'm just keeping myself busy. I'm building shit. I'm making stuff. I'm redesigning the garden. I'm chopping down trees. I'm just keeping myself busy. And when I'm in a flat moment, I'm playing GTA 5 on my Xbox.
Waiting for GTA 6 to come out.
So,
just patiently waiting.
Yeah, that's it. So am I. That's why I got my Xbox ready for it. But that's what I do. Are
you able to sit and sort of reflect on the past and stuff?
I do a lot. That's what this is all about. If I remember, say, a story or something like that, for example, talking with you today, I'll probably, go back over some notes and see if there's anything new that's come out, see if it's in here or if it's changed somehow, I'll add to it. I don't lament. I did for a while. I was lamenting for a long time. I was just like, why did I fucking do that? And I should have done this. What I'm doing now is I'm reflecting on events that have occurred throughout my career, and I run through them how I could do them better. But at the end of the day, as my psychologist said, like that's just torturing myself. Like what happened.
Yeah. That's why you don't like saying it, but it is what it is. Like,
but
you can't change it.
You can't change it. But like when I'm in my back property, like we got a house yard is 1.5 acres, and then the rest of the other 4.5 acres is for the horses. I hand mow the 1.5 acres, and it's therapy for me. I'm just going backwards and forwards with the mower, and I'm just got my headphones on, listening to music. Music has come back for me. My daughter Michaela, she has started a career in music. She's now here in Brisbane, and she's working at the studios. Oh. She's got a few songs coming out. So she's writing new music, and she's helped me sort of as well get back into music. My other son, Aiden, he joined the Navy. Oh, yeah. He's in the Navy. He started off as a chef-o, and he was up in Darwin on the patrol boats back and forth to Christmas Island a lot. And he's just recently changed to becoming a military policeman. So he's now, down at Cerberus as a military policeman.
Coxswain, mate, coxswain.
Yep. So he's there right now at Cerberus. He's
gone from the most loved role in the Navy to the most hated role in the Navy.
And he's fully aware of that. And I told him that. I said to him, you are going to...
Everyone loves a chef-o.
That's right. No one
loves a coxswain.
And he was a chef-o for about 6 years, and then he got really good at it. But he'd always wanted, because he always saw me when I was a dog handler or when I was in the military police, and we were happy. I was happy. As I said, those group of mates that I had in the MPs were great. It's just the hierarchy. They were just dickheads. But the group of friends that I had around me were great mates, and it was such a really good atmosphere. And I think he saw that as well. And he wanted to experience, and he always wanted to be, part of that. So now he's down there and he's loving it. He absolutely loves it. He always rings me up and we compare, like, from what it was like when I was in to what it is now. And it's so different. So many things are different. Yeah, but it's good, he's doing that. So, but with me, with my music, I've got, I went and bought a set of drums. I've got a set of drums at home now. I've got 2 turntables and a sound desk that I've set up. So I've got a mixing table and everything, and I've got big speakers in the living room, which my wife hates. I've got my records. I got about 150, 200 records that I just sit and play and listen to. I've then got my saxophone, my trumpet, my clarinet, my bongo drums, and sometimes just start playing. I just got back into music. I'm just doing the things that I haven't been able to do whilst I was in the army. Same with my car, my motor racing. I'm doing hill sprints or things like that, or doing an event somewhere out there with my car. It's still registered, but you can still race these registered because it's single racing only. It's not door handle to door handle. It's just single racing. Got a go-kart track just down the road, so I do that sometimes. But it's just I just sit at home and I don't really go out that much. The drinking side of it, there was a period when I first got up to the South Burnett, I was drinking a fair bit. Like I would be drinking every night, but then I stopped that. It became expensive, but also it became problematic because my wife would be at work, Kelly would be at work, and and I'd have to go somewhere, and it's like it's a bit of a trek to get into town, and I'll be like, fuck, I can't just walk anymore,
Can't call fucking, what do you call it?
No Uber Eats.
Danny driver, fucking, what's that? I can't remember the name of it now. There's like an alcohol delivery dude.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. No, that doesn't even exist up there. There's no delivery. We haven't even got the closest fast food place is about 50 k's away.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so, and it doesn't even stay up until late at night. It closes. The McDonald's closes at like midnight or something, or not even that 10 o'clock. But no, look, I've toned it back this year. I only drink on Thursday nights at the RSL. And then on Friday nights I have my fire pit, which I've got an actual bar at my house, and it's fully stocked up. But I don't, not anymore. I've just once a week I'll have a couple of drinks. Thursday night at the RSL, it's $10 pints. So I'll have a couple of pints with a palmy or something like that for our quiz night. But nothing much else anymore. I got my youngest son. He's still living at home with us. He's 22, and I think he started following my still footsteps with the drinking thing. And I've had to say to him, look, you don't have to drink every fucking night. Like, you don't need to do that. So,
be a lead by example.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's only what he sees. So, I've changed it all up for myself, and it's a bit healthier for me anyway. So,
obviously,
well, there are some people up in our area who have you can see the yellowish in their eyes, and they're at the pub all the time, and they've got the yellow eyes, and you're just like, oh my fucking god, do you know what's wrong with you right now? And they're just like,
they start to fucking forget things and repeat themselves. And how'd you find the podcast?
Yeah, really good.
How'd you stumble across that? Just on YouTube
YouTube
or something? Or?
Look, I've got on the platforms that I got, Instagram, Facebook, and so on and so forth. I kind of follow like you. Did you have Heston Russell?
No,
you had him yet?
Heston.
All right. Who had Heston? Someone had Heston. Anyway, Heston Russell. He was at 2RER the same time I was there. He was a lieutenant. We called him Lieutenant Russell, the love muscle. That's what we called him. Not to his face, though. But that's what we referred to him as. I had seen him do some podcasts, and then from that I just then linked through all the others, like the Five with the Digger and True Blue Conversations. There's this one, and then there's a whole bunch of others, and I just linked them all up and just have them in my folder as ones that same one on YouTube or and things like that, because I've got a YouTube account. So I've just followed them all there. I do I follow a lot of open source intelligence podcasts, and from that, I found a few others. So, and they are linked, in various ways. But I found yours, quite easily on Facebook. And,
Find it helpful to hear stories.
Absolutely. It really is. You had a chap on here recently. He was an MP and then he got out.
Nivian.
I think so, yeah. He just had him on recently, and he was an MP, got out and did law, I think he did.
Yeah, Cameron.
Yeah.
So he does Soldiers Legal Counsel.
That's right, yes. So that was a good one. You had, there's been some, I've been watching a number of them, and just the full circle, like when you had Jared, the comedian on here, he was talking about stuff that was happening in Timor the same time that I was over there. And it's good to see like people like that taking the piss, because military comedy is different to normal comedy. And you can't, it used to be that only, military personnel could understand that comedy, but now that people like him are coming out and explaining to the civilians, like
letting them in on our dirty little secrets.
Some of the shit that we do, when I tell my mates, because when I meet up with mates, just recently we had a wedding that my wife's, one of her friends got married, and her partner is Army, he's transport, and all of his mates were there, they're all transport as well. And the night before the wedding, we were all having a few drinks, and there wasn't really much. The conversation was, he was just getting all wound up about the wedding, and I was just like, all right. And I put out my book, and I said, look, I've got this book that I have. I said, it's a book of my things I go through with therapy. I said, it's just all stories that I've had that I remembered when I was in. And I said, just go through it, pick a story. They're just dot point headings. I said, just pick a story, and then I'll give you the story. I'll give you the good oil on it. And they'd be like, what do you mean? And I'm like, okay. I said, like, I'll give you an example, and I'm going to give you an example here. This is one of my funny ones. Now, this went on this one went for a couple of years, this happened. It's called Whispers, the Fictional Mascot Dog. When I was at Combat Training Centre, right, whenever we went outfield, we were in shipping containers, and that's how we were, right? We had these new lieutenants from ROBC coming up to, sit in with us for a couple of weeks on exercise, right? And my OC, Major Nolan, said, right, he pulled us all in and he says, right, we've got some ROBC lieutenants coming in. I want some funny shit happening. Like, I want to see, give me some ideas on how we can play a trick on them. And we were just like, oh yeah, we'll get a fucking a Cat 5 with a connector on the end, and we'll put some ice in it and close it up and call it a storage device. And he's just like, no, that's fucking stupid. Right? No, I want something better. Major Nolan, he's just like, he's in walkway. We're all going, oh, let's, think of all these, funny tricks we can play on the new lieutenant sort of thing. The OC comes out and he's like, I've got it. He goes, Smokey, you were a dog handler? And I said, yeah, that's right. And he goes, right, go get me a toggle rope. And I was like, what? Just go get me a fucking toggle rope. So I've gone and grabbed his toggle rope, and he's tied it up to the shipping container. That was his office. And he's gone into his office and he's come out with a Dixie pan and he's filled it up with water. And he's like, right, that's your dog. And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, Whispers. And I was like, well, where is it? And he goes, that's right. Where is it? I'm like, I don't know. And he goes, well, go find it. I'm like, what? And he goes, every time I ask you where your dog is, just fuck off and go look for it. Don't do anything. Just fuck off and go look for it. I was like, oh, righto. So anyway, these ROBC lieutenants turned up, and they were like, getting introduced to everyone. And the OC is being very cordial, like, oh, this is where we do this, and this is that here, and this is how this happens, and this is how this happens, blah, blah, blah. And we're just all sitting around, just fucking doing our work, whatever. And then the one of the lieutenants had kicked the little Dixie pan full of water, and he's just like, oh, shit. And he goes, oh. And he's picked up the rope, and he's gone, what the fuck? Corporal Dawson. Oh, yes, sir. Where's Whispers? oh, fuck, sorry, I'll go look for him. And I've just fucked off. I just left. And then he's just dropped in. And as I was leaving, I could hear him say, Corporal Dawson was a dog handler in the military police, and he brings his dog on to exercises. He's just going to go look for him. He'll bring him back soon. And then I just fucked off for about half an hour and come back. And meanwhile, the lieutenants have gone off and done other stuff. And then I'm back there at the thing, and then they've sat down, and they're just like, they're looking over towards the dishpan, and they're just like, so you're Corporal Dawson? Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, I'm Corporal Dawson. Yeah. And he goes, you're a dog handler? Yeah, I was. I was a dog handler with the military police for a while. And he goes, what's with your dog? And I was like, oh, fuck, hang on a sec. Oh, I'll be back in a minute. And I just fucked off, just left. And I've come back, and he's just like, what's the deal with the fucking dog? And I said, I bring my dog in exercise. And I said, and sometimes I keep him down at the airfield with the Raffies. And I said, he's down there at the moment. He'll be back later on. Like, your dog? And I'm like, yeah, my dog. Like, for real? And I'm like, yeah, for real. And then that spread to everyone else. Like, it was only my OC and us in our section knew about this little trick, but it spread. And we didn't realise it was going to spread as much as it did. And before we knew it, all these other, officers from other sections that come over, and they were like, Smokey, I heard you got your fucking dog here. And I was like, yeah, did you find out about that? And he's like, mate, nothing gets past us. You know, we fucking heard you got a dog here. Where is he? And I'm like, oh, he's down with the Raffies at the moment. Oh, really? Oh, when were you gonna show him to us? And I'm like, well, he just stays down there with them. He goes, oh, right. So you actually bring him here? And I'm like, yeah. How did the commander approve that? Oh, I don't know. I'm not really sure. And then my OC comes out and he's like, don't you worry about that. I've sorted that out already. It's done. It's fine. It's okay. So he's gone and spoken to the commander and filled him in on the good oil of what we're doing. So then the next exercise happened. So that was that, right? And then the ROBC guys went away and we kept that up for a bit. The next exercise, same shit again. OC is like, and we actually put it into planning. Yeah, Smokey, can you bring a collar? Have you got a collar or a fucking lead? I'm like, yeah, I got all that. It got to the point where every exercise, I would bring out a lead with this collar, put it on the fucking near the shipping container with a dish bowl with a bit of food, and that was my dog Whispers. And no one fucking knew about it except for the commander, my OC, and about 4 other people. We never told anyone else. But every exercise, hey, where's Whispers? Like, people would walk in, where's Whispers? Oh, he's not here at the moment.
No one's ever fucking seen him.
No, this imaginary fucking dog, Whispers. So it got mentioned in fucking debriefs and everything. If you see Whispers, make sure you let Corporal Dawson know. It went on for 2 years. I did that. We did that for 2 fucking years. Never told anyone. So if anyone's watching now and if you ever heard a dog Whispers, it was all bullshit. Just a ruse. It was a cool, mean ruse.
Oh, fucking hell.
So that's what I do. So that's why I got the book, and that's how I do it. And I don't know, it just brings a smile to some people's faces, and it just, those sort of things, like, I miss, and they're the funny shit that I miss,
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
So those are good times. You don't remember all the times where you're hating life and. No,
well, you kind of do, but yeah. Yeah, no, I'm that's why I write all these down. I write, as I said, I've got about 40 odd pages full of dot point stories of just dumb shit. Lost comm operators, really random shit. I diarise, so I used to I write down in the diary every night. I've been doing that for a very long time. I got about 17 to 20 odd diaries at home that were from my defence diaries that I used to write in every day. And if I was out field, I'd have a little book like this that I'd write into. And that's just always been doing. I still to this day still write in a diary every single night.
It's got good therapeutic properties to it. Like you went through a soldier recovery, so you were told that by Sean O'Gorman, you were told that by Paul Hayes, you were told that by those psych guys that came in from Sydney.
Yep. Everybody
said it in a different, with their own sort of flavour to it, but everyone has the same principles to recovery.
Mm-hmm. This one is a little bit different to that one, and then my other one at home is an every night one, but this one is there was a couple that I told you today that I'm going to put in here, and then I've got this one here, which just, I don't know, it's just whatever's in my head goes into that,
I think it's the same sort of thing as talk therapy. Like, getting it off your chest and out of your head. And when it sits inside of you, it fills you up with anxiety and sort of regret and shame and all those sorts of feelings. Once you get it out of yourself onto paper, into a microphone, to a mate over a beer, any of the above, it's out of you and into the world, and you feel lighter.
Yeah. And I'm doing it more often now because I'm away from my old cohort of mates. You know, I've got a mate of mine, Reese Honan. Him and I were really good mates when I was here down in Brisbane. We used to go out and my wife and I would go to his place with his partner, and we'd have a good time. But now that I'm out there, I don't have that anymore. I'll have it occasionally. He might come up to my place, or I'll go down to his. But it's far and few between now. I mean, I've got people up there that I can talk to, but it's not the same. I'm trying to assimilate with them or whatever, but it's just it's not the same.
No.
And some of the Vietnam vets up there, I love them dearly. Like, they got some really holy shit stories. Like, I mean, this one guy, he was 3-4, or he was cavalry in Vietnam War and did a couple of tours, and like some of the shit that he's telling me, I'm just like, holy fuck. But they don't do therapy. They won't go to therapy. They go to the RSL. That's what
that's their therapy. Yeah.
That's their therapy. Have a pint every night, and every afternoon they have a pint, and then they go home. That's them. That's what it was for their era. For me now, I only do it on Thursday night, and it's just for a quiz night, and that's it. But no, it's I do miss it. I really, really miss being in the army.
Yeah.
I miss those sort of things, like that sort of stuff. I miss, just the camaraderie, taking the piss out of people, them taking the piss out of me, being a fair sport.
For sure.
I just miss those sort of things. It's, but now, I've got what I'm doing now. I'm just trying to keep myself busy, getting involved in the community, basically, in a heavy way as possible.
Maybe try and find something that you can do, like maybe even like once a month, coming down here and doing some sort of catch up, or
sure, absolutely,
game of golf or something with the boys that you can all fucking take the piss out of each other.
There's plenty of stuff. There's it's just I've just got to get myself motivated sometimes. So, but. I'm enjoying it to a certain extent. That's about it.
Someone told me that this podcast helps them because they kind of feel like it's so relaxed. They feel like they're in the room with us, so it makes you feel like you're back with the boys to a certain degree.
It does. It is like that. Yeah, this one has been like that. It's good. I really enjoyed this. This is a really great setup too.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, if you can tell.
I love it. It's brilliant. Especially coming from a technical point of view. This is really good.
Yeah, nice. Cheers.
This is really good.
There you go. Stamp of approval from the technician. Cheers, brother. I think you might have just set the record for the longest one.
Oh, really?
We'll see how we go. It's 3 hours and 49 minutes.
Oh, gee, sorry about that.
That's all right. Tomo, my mate Tomo, he was really proud that he had the longest one at 3:47, I think.
Oh, really?
So,
sorry, mate.
Tell him he's been dethroned. Cool, man. Appreciate you coming down and coming across and having a chat.
That's okay. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
No worries.
It's really good. Thank you. Thanks to everyone out there.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.
See ya.
Nice one, dude.
Holy shit, I didn't mean to go for that long.
Time flies, eh?
I feel... My wife was right. You should have.
Why'd you get him going?
Look, and I hadn't even... I've only pulled out a couple of stories out of here.
The Grey Man Podcast is a veteran-run platform dedicated to sharing authentic experiences from current and former service members. These stories are shared to foster connection, understanding, and support within the veteran community. Episodes may contain raw, emotionally charged content that some listeners may find distressing. Listener discretion is advised. The views and opinions expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the Grey Man Podcast, its host, or affiliated partners. The Grey Man podcast assumes no liability for any statements, opinions, or representations made by guests during interviews or discussions.